nosotros hoy en este día y en esta junta tan importante. Le quiero dar las gracias a cada uno de nuestros invitados que están aquí presentes de las diferentes agencias de enforzamiento de ley. I want to thank all law enforcement agencies represented here today. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for always supporting us. And I would like to, at this time, call on Ms. Maggie Martinez, our Assistant Superintendent for Student Services, and she is my boss. I am the Parent Coordinator for the Parent and Family Engagement Department here in Lisd. We're the program that provides services for our parents. And this was one of the things that the parents wanted to know about safety, so that's why we're here.
Thank you, Ms. Campos. Good afternoon, everyone. Parents, thank you for being here. This is a wonderful opportunity for us to share with you what our district is doing and collaborating with these wonderful agencies that you get to meet right now and when they introduce them. But first of all, on behalf of our Superintendent and Board of Trustees, we are very happy and glad that you make the time of your busy schedule to be with us. And please don't hesitate to always let us know how we can be of better help for the benefit of our students and your kids, which I know they're your treasures, but they're ours as well. Thank you for being here. We're very proud of the wonderful parent and engagement program that we have at our schools. I know that they don't share it much, but let me tell you, we have a very high state recognized program, and it's run by, of course, Ms. Campos, the coordinator for Parent and Family Engagement Program, Ms. Campos. And all our parent liaisons. Thanks to the support that we get from our Board of Trustees and our Superintendent, we have a parent liaison at every school. So those parent liaisons are the ones that are in charge of communicating with you all everything that happens in our campuses. So thank you for always being there for us, and thanks to you all being the partners that you are in education with your kids. Our school district received a rating of an A from the state agency, the Texas Education Agency. So thank you for all you do for our schools. Without further ado, I will give the microphone and introduce our Board of Trustees, Mr. Guadalupe Gomez, who will say a few words. Mr. Gomez.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, parents of families. We thank you before anything for joining us today, so that we can hear each and every one of you on what worries you as a parent and things that we might be able to change to better the safety of the students. And I speak to you also before anything as a parent, because I as well am a parent to a student within this district. So we are in the same shoes, and I'm here with the same mentality as you as a parent, and working together with the collaboration of our Life Dignity Department and our law enforcement partners in this community, so that we can ensure the safety of each student at all times. So I do want to take this time also to thank Sheriff's Office, DPS, the Police Department. I know we have DHS in the house as well. FBI, we have FBI as well. It's important that we collaborate together as a team so that we can always be on the same page and work together to keep our students safe. So I thank you all for joining us today. And padres, les doy las gracias a todos ustedes por acompañarnos en esta tarde. Es importante que nos unamos como equipo para poder estar bien informados en cómo podemos mejorar la seguridad de nuestros estudiantes y que estén seguros en todo tiempo. Es muy importante. Les hablo yo también como padre de una estudiante de este distrito escolar de Lisd. Estamos en los mismos zapatos y estamos aquí para trabajar juntos y mejorar la seguridad de nuestros estudiantes a todo momento. Gracias.
And now we allow introduce our Chief of Police for Laredo Independent School District, Chief Doreen Hale, who will introduce our panel, our VIP panel.
Thank you, Maggie. Hello, everyone. Good evening. I want to welcome all the parents that are here with us today. For those of you that don't know, my name is Doreen Hale, and I serve as the Lisd Police Department Chief of Police. I will be trying to talk a little bit in Spanish as well for some of you that may not understand English, so please bear with me. Buenas tardes a todos. Quiero dar la bienvenida a todos los padres que están aquí con nosotros hoy. Mi nombre es Doreen Hale. Yo sirvo como jefa de policía for Lisd Police Department. I'd like to start off by saying thank you for being here. I believe it's important for us to come together and have these types of meetings because, as the saying goes, it takes a village to raise a child. And I'm a true believer in that, and that's why you'll hear me say that over and over. I'd like you to know that the Lisd Police Department works very hard in protecting our children and staff from our school district. I also need to mention that we, LISDPD, cannot do it alone. I'd like you to know that we work together with many other police agencies that are here present today. And I'd like to introduce you to them, and I'm going to jump right into that because some of our agency officers may need to step out in a few minutes, so I'd like to start with that. We're going to start off with the Webb County Sheriff's Office. Sheriff Martin Cuellar is present here with us today. Captain Alex Garcia, Sergeant Madrazo, and PIO Victoria Luna. Sheriff, would you like to say a few words?
I think the chief asked me to come here first, and he told me to take 30 minutes. So. Anyway, thank you very much, Doreen. Thank you for inviting us to come here. I want to tell the public that we act a different way, than what happened in Uvalde. I know that's why you're here, so I'll bring it up. Shouldn't be something like that. And I know that y'all are worried about your kids, and I am too. I have a daughter that's fixing to graduate from school, and she even asked me, she said, Dad, I don't know if I can do this, because what happened? Because she graduated, or she's going to graduate in December as a teacher, and she said, I don't know if I can do this. I said, look, this is what I want you to do. This, you gotta have faith, that everything is going to be good. And I know that that's exactly what y'all are thinking. So, there's things that we need to talk to our kids because we cannot live in fear. There's no way that we're going to live in fear. Okay? The agencies here, the local agencies that are here, federal and state, we train and we train and we train. We train with each other. Okay? So whenever something happens, we're there to be in the front line. Our job, as we train with the alert training that we get, the alert training is a training that is for everybody, all law enforcement agencies. Why? Because that way we train the same. For example, if something was to happen here, and we stack up outside where it's coming, we're coming in. We're not waiting for SWAT, we're not waiting for anybody like that. Okay, that's our job, to respond. If you're there alone, you're going by yourself, and you're going to take care of business. Okay, so it all depends. I know that some school districts don't have enough resources to have a police officer present, in these big schools. We understand that, but they're not alone. We work together. We work together, and that's what we want. We want to be able to work together and take care of business. Recently, I wrote a letter to the President of the United States. I wrote a letter to my brother Henry. I talked to him about it. I wrote a letter to Senator Saparini and Richard Raymond, and to Governor Abbott. And this is my mentality, okay? My mentality is, because I thought about it, what am I going to do to to see if we can help, or how we can help the school districts. And I started thinking, I said, well, why don't we do this, with my staff? We created what we call Operation Safety Shield. And what that is if we can take care of the border, I think Laredo is pretty safe, okay? If we can take care of borders, and the governor and Congress can give us a pile of monies, okay, a pile of monies to work overtime. Obviously, we can't do it by ourselves. In Operation Stone Garden, we have the PD, we have the constables, we have, other agencies that help us, take care of the borders. So I said, well, if we can get a pile of money to go to the school districts, why don't we work overtime and be a force multiplier and work the schools? Have our police officers, DPS, PD, ourselves, and constables walk in the hallways and just being there in case of an active shooter. So we thought about that, and we came up with this idea, where if the school receives, grants from the governor's office. I know the governor has a lot of money, where they can share that with us and make sure that we're walking the schools. We're not going to do anything else. We're not going to arrest someone for a cigarette or marijuana. We're going to be there in case of an active shooter. We're going to go out there, check the doors, check different places, make sure that and also make assessments, okay? We make assessments, to the school districts, and of course the school district body will make that determination. Right now, that's what we're doing. We're going to our schools in my area of responsibility, which I have 7, okay, outside in the county. And we're sending our officers to stop, check the doors, walk the hallways, and leave. Of course, we can't be there, the whole 8 or 9 hours because we have other responsibility like answering 911 calls. So we go there and we check, what we wanted to do, as far as Operation Safety Shield. So we'll be able to be a force multiplier. And again, it's not just sheriff's office, PD, constables, and DPS walking the hallways, talking to the kids, gaining their trust that we are going to do the job that we're assigned to do. I've been sending people to SWAT training. Why am I doing that? Because I want them to survive a situation, not only in schools. I'm thinking about outside, right? But now it involves schools. It involves, in 2016, I've been thinking, how we're going to take care of schools, how we're going to do things, how we're going to educate our community in case of an active shooter. So we've been thinking and talking about that. Captain Garcia runs our Safety Shield operation, which he goes to different businesses, to banks, to stores, to forwarding agencies, to different places where he goes and gives the active training to civilians. That's open. We can do that. So everybody does their job, as far as, taking care of business, taking care of our kids. We can do this. We can do it together. So hopefully, and I understand, I talked to the president of the Sheriff's Association of Texas, and understanding that the governor is thinking about doing something similar to what I brought up to him, and hopefully it will happen. So don't be surprised. I'm hoping that it happens, where we can see police officers, DPS, sheriffs walking the hallways and taking care of our kids. Okay, so that's what we're looking at. Did I take that? I'm good? Okay. I can talk more and I can answer some questions if you like, before I get down. ¿Alguna pregunta que quieran?
Question?
Yes? No?
Los micrófonos están aquí en el centro.
So wait, do I put it down? Or?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So basically, like, what are you guys gonna do? Just like monitor the school? Cause like my son's school, like I asked the assistant principal if they have like the police officer there throughout the day, and she always said like, oh, half a day. And then we have the security guards, but then like a lot of the security guards, they're either elderly or like, I mean, because they're not even strapped, like, and like, this doesn't happen often, but this happened like two hours away, right? When we found it. So, I mean, it's always a possibility. And my son's in kinder, like, it's the middle ones. Like, I think like there should be an officer all day. And I think like people as taxpayers, like, I think our kids deserve it. Like, we can put a price on our children's safety.
Absolutely. You know, and this is why I want to bring this program up, you know, which is called Operation Safety Shield, you know, where we can have, you know, the governor's office or the federal government fund for officers, local officers, to be walking the hallways at all times. I also came up with an idea of having you remember what an air marshal is? Remember when we had all this hijacking and all that? Okay, this will be a school marshal. You'll be in plain clothes, you know, without showing their guns, you know, and walking around. You know, that way it's a deterrence, you know, for those cowards that are looking for soft targets, where there's little kids like that, you know, to be there. But sometimes the school districts don't have the resources to hire a police officer in certain schools, districts, right?
What can we, like, as a people, what can we do to, like, you know, with those resources? Because I know, like, a lot of stuff, like, it goes, like, towards the star and all that. Like, what can we do to bring those resources?
But that's something that the school district can answer. But what I'm trying to do is get this program, Operation Safety Shield, that can hire, you know, local officers, state officers to work overtime, just like we do when we go and take care of the riverbanks and take care of, you know, all the illegals and everybody that are crossing dope and drugs and all that. You know, we want to do that the same effect that we take care of our kids. You know, and believe me, I'll be a firm believer, you know, that we need to take care of our kids and our future, and we need to take care of business when we have to. You know, some of my guys, you know, that I've trained and I've attended some of the training, you know, I asked them, I said, what are you going to do in case of an active shooter? He said, we're going to go in there and eliminate the threat. What if you're by yourself? What are you going to do? You're going to go in there and eliminate the threat. You know, so that mentality is there. You got to have that mentality. If someone doesn't, you know, believe in that, any of my officers, or I'm sure with the PD or anybody else, if you don't have the courage to go in and take care of business, you're in the wrong business. You really are. You know, so we're here to do what we have to do, but resources is one of the things that we're limited. So that's why I've been asking the governor's office and Congress to come up with grants for the schools. So the schools, you know, the schools are going to know where we need to send the officers, okay? And it's a force multiplier because we don't, one of the things, if we hire an officer, you know, it's going to cost all this money to have them full-time there. But if we pay them part-time, I think it's going to cost less, but we don't have to pay them, you know, these fringe benefits. And I think we can do, you know, a force multiplier to get more people there. Okay. I think my time is...
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Ben. Just to elaborate more on your question, as a school board member and with the rest of the colleagues, one of the things that we've been looking at, and this goes back to more than a year, to increasing our police force. We're actively looking at all avenues so that we can increase our police force and to have an officer in each campus at all times. Now, the comment that you brought up as far as our security officers, some of them being at an older age or maybe not being capable to run or fight, There's laws that we have to follow as far as the UC with federal labor laws and discrimination. We cannot discriminate our employees. There's employees who are hired at certain times, and they were hired with, at that stage. So I understand your concern. I also brought it up. We have a student a security safety committee, and it's a body of from law enforcement officers, the police department. We have principals. We have parents, school parents that are there, and every time that we meet, they are given the opportunity to speak, and they mentioned this before as well as having this type of security guards. We do need to improve. There's no reason to go around it. And how can we put it this work? I'm 1 of 7, but together as a team, we need to look out to the best interest to keep us safe all the time. So yes, that's one of the issues that we need to look at. But right now, as we speak, we have approved additional positions for the officers. There's the process of being hired, more officers coming in. I know that the governor had approved some funding that's going to come down to the school districts to hire more officers and meet other, better expectations of security for our students. And one of the things for security systems are really expensive. We're trying our best to better it. I don't know if you as parents saw this video that came out on social media sometime back. It was this security system from Louisiana, and it was state-of-the-art. I love the security system. There was cameras in almost every angle of the campus. They had smoke activators for them to be activated to see if there's an intruder in the middle of the hallway. They had this box on the classroom that they would speak, and it would direct them to law enforcement and dispatch automatically. So it's a really good security. They also have bulletproof windows, bulletproof doors, and a lot of good stuff. I personally would love to have this in our district. It costs a lot of money, but it is not impossible, and I would say this is a promise. But we are looking at all avenues so that we can get funding to better our security system and to have more officers present in our campus. And another thing that we look at, and this will be with Chief Webb, we have to discuss this, as the possibility of having armed security guards. If we cannot afford to have police officers, and we can have a security guard armed in our campuses, that would work well. So I don't know if I answered your question, but we are looking, extra aggressive and angle to better security and have more officers. Any other questions? Should I pass the mic?
Well, one more thing that I want to talk about when he talks about equipment. One of the things that we want to do with grant monies is buy the shields, okay, and other equipment that we need, to break down a door. So that's one thing. If we can buy, and of course everything costs money, we can buy like a safe that we can put, in the entrance of the schools. Also will come in and be able to access whatever information or whatever equipment that they need. So that's something, that you think about how we're going to do this. Because a lot of times some of the officers may not have a shield, but they're not going to wait for one. Okay, let me get that straight. Okay, so but if we have extra equipment that we can have there, I think it always helps. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Sheriff, for sharing that. So, is that for the sheriff or for anyone else?
No, for anyone.
Okay.
Yes, as a concerned parent and parent volunteer, I would like to know, will there be any training for parent volunteers in case if we were to have such scenario, God forbid something happens, I'd rather be prepared than, go into panic mode.
Sure. So I guess with Ms. Campos being the head of that, we will be looking into something to that extent so we can help you so that you can be prepared for that as well. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. So our next agency that's here from the Laredo Police Department, we have Chief of Police, Claudio Treviño.
Good afternoon, buenas tardes a todos. Thank you, Chief, for inviting us. Thank you all for having us and having a conversation with us regarding our responses to this important issue. So one of the main things to stress here, una de las cosas más importantes que quiero mencionar es cómo trabajamos en equipo. The way we work as a team in law enforcement. All it took was a couple of phone calls for Chief Hale, a couple of emails to get us all together. And this was, a matter of a couple of days, she brought us all together. La manera que nos comunicamos, siempre con una llamada, con un email, nos podemos juntar y trabajar en equipo. Tenemos las oficinas del fiscal aquí también presentes y el fiscal no se puede hacer nada con relación a lo que respondemos, es muy importante. We have the DA's office here present, the DA, that we can work together. We can do what we do without a prosecutor to back us up, to work with us, and be able to be successful in what we do. We also can't work without our federal partners, nuestros compañeros de las agencias federales, here present with us, the FBI, to help us in these difficult cases. We've had difficult cases that extend beyond our jurisdiction into other areas where people flee or people try to hide, and they're able to help us. Las agencias federales nos ayudan a poder alcanzar a gente que huye de nosotros, hacen amenazas aquí locales y posiblemente están haciendo planes lejos de aquí de Laredo para regresar a hacer daños aquí. Esas agencias federales nos ayudan para trabajar en esos casos difíciles. So it's very important to have the whole team, the sheriff's office, obviously very instrumental in keeping these people in jail, keeping these people housed. So it's a team, like I mentioned, como menciono, es un equipo que trabajamos para la seguridad aquí en la comunidad y específicamente hoy hablando del tema de seguridad en las escuelas. Es importantísimo lo que hacemos o lo que tratamos de hacer, entrenando y tratando de prevenir estas tragedias que sucedieron. Y esto se ha estado haciendo años atrás. Esto no fue una reacción de lo que pasó en Webb. This is not a recent approach to this issue. We've been working like this for years. Cases, I can go through a bunch of cases dating back years. I've been in the department for 26 years, and I remember working with the FBI, the DA's office, the sheriff's office, obviously the DPS here as well. Trabajamos en estos casos hace años. Esto que sucedió, esta tragedia que sucedió en Uvalde, nos hace reaccionar un poquito diferente o realizar que la importancia de la seguridad, pero es algo que hemos estado haciendo aquí localmente por bastantes años, trabajando juntos y atendiendo cualquier amenaza que se presenta. Specifically speaking about the Laredo Police Department, one of the things I want to stress is the training. We do a lot of training. Entrenamos mucho en el departamento de policía y entrenamos juntos con otras agencias. So, quiero que sepan que lo que hacemos nosotros como departamento de policía lo hacemos como comunidad policíaca aquí en Laredo. So we work as a community, we work as a law enforcement community, we've been through the different schools, training with Lisd, other school districts as well, training with our state and local partners in law enforcement, federal partners. Trabajamos juntos en todos los entrenamientos y también ofrecemos entrenamientos a la comunidad. So the question was about the training here at the schools, perhaps to have those volunteers and teachers go through these different trainings. We have that available not only to school districts, but we have that available to other businesses because the threat is not only the schools. The schools are our main focus, but there's also threats at hospitals and other public places. So we train with those different businesses also. Entrenamos con la comunidad, con diferentes negocios en otros edificios grandes como el hospital, como el aeropuerto, oficinas de la ciudad. Y creemos que hemos estado trabajando mucho con diferentes agencias. Equipo, so we also buy a lot of equipment. We also invest in a lot of equipment that's important. El equipo que obtenemos con diferentes medios, ya sea con ayudas federales, con ayudas locales, las taxas de los ciudadanos aquí. Tenemos los equipos, mejores equipos que se pueden obtener con los oficiales y entrenan a esos oficiales con ese equipo con las sus cascos, sus rifles, sus shields, sus herramientas para poder abrir puertas. Todo eso se está trabajando para tener mejor equipo y tener el equipo más nuevo y tenerlo disponible para todos los oficiales. So we work with the different type of equipment that is required for these type of responses, like shields, helmets, rifles, any type of breaching tools. So we try and get as much of the equipment available and equipment out in the field, and we keep doing it through different sources, local sources, taxpayers here locally, as well as grant sources. And we get, like the sheriff mentioned, we reach out and we stress this to our politicians to give us more money, but in the interim, we find ways to improve our officers. And then technology, la tecnología que se habló hace poco, ahorita se comentó cómo podemos tener más vigilancia. Es importante usar la tecnología. We use technology to stretch the security in areas where we can't place an officer at every corner, at every street. So we use technology, y la tecnología que hablo es las cámaras de seguridad que tienen en todas las escuelas. Una cosa que quiero mencionar es que las cámaras de seguridad que tienen las escuelas están atadas al departamento de policía, the real-time crime center, the police department has direct connection to the school cameras. So in case there's any type of threat, any type of 911 call, the real-time crime center can bring up those cameras in those schools and have eyes and be available to better get an understanding of what's happening and then guide more officers or determine if a threat is a threat or maybe it's nothing. Entonces se usan las cámaras de seguridad para evaluar situaciones que entran lastimadas al departamento de policía y podemos extender esta visibilidad a los lugares como las escuelas. Fue una inversión de dinero que cada quien tomó su responsabilidad. Las escuelas invierten dinero, nosotros invertimos dinero y trabajamos juntos para conectar esos sistemas y poder trabajar juntos y dar mejor seguridad en cualquier emergencia. So we work together with that technology as well to tie it into what we do. And then, like I mentioned, working with the prosecutor's office, and maybe he can go on and stress some ways we work together. But I cannot stress enough the fact that when we see a threat, we attack the threat, whether it be a person threatening anybody or social media threat or any kind of writing on the walls, mirrors. We've responded to different types of threats, and the prosecutor's office, Mr. Alaniz here present, backs us up. We create those cases, we analyze or look at the threat and determine if there's any way we can bring these people in, do a proper threat assessment, get search warrants to go into the homes and see if there's any weapons and such that may escalate the case, or simply send a message so we don't put up with those threats in any way. Entonces trabajamos juntos con nuestro fiscal aquí del distrito, Mr. Alaniz, para trabajar esos casos de amenazas que se hacen a las escuelas, ya sean en medios sociales, en alguna carta, alguna cosa que se escribió en algún espejo en el baño. Pues hemos trabajado esos casos. Son difíciles, pero tenemos el respaldo de nuestro fiscal para trabajarlos, que se nos dé los órdenes de cateo para poder evaluar esas amenazas, y si son amenazas que se merecen un arresto, se hacen los arrestos, y si no, como quiera, mandamos el mensaje que no se toleran ese tipo de cosas. Es que es todo por ahorita, y como le digo, a lo mejor el fiscal puede elaborar un poquito más en ese tema. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Now with the Webb County District Attorney's Office, we have our District Attorney, Isidro Chilo Alaniz, and Mr. Chief Federico Gutierrez present.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you for the invitation. I'm very honored and proud to be here, being a graduate of Nixon High School class of 80-something, a product of Lisd, and very proud to be here with all the fellow law enforcement, federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies. Our mission is to keep our community safe, working together. Laredo is one of the safest cities in the state of Texas, and that's not a coincidence. And that's because of the work by all of the agencies that are here, working together and communicating. Laredo es una de las ciudades más seguras en todo el estado por lo que es en colaboración, el trabajo de comunicación entre nuestras agencias policíacas. Ese es un mensaje muy importante. Pero también parte de esa fórmula son ustedes. A big part of that formula is all of you that are here. We cannot be a unified or put on a unified front without your all's help. Necesitamos el apoyo de todos ustedes. Y lo más importante en lo que es combatir el crimen es la comunicación. The most important factor in fighting crime is communication. We can have all the security technology, but at the end of the day, the best security is all of you that are here and all of your kids. And your kids speaking to teachers, speaking to you all, speaking to their friends, and make the report. You need to make the report. The idea of not getting involved, o no me quiero meter, that has to be gone. Ese tiempo ya no existe, que no me quiero meter. All of us need to get involved to keep our kids safe. 80% of active shooters would have communicated to another person some signals that they were going to do something like that. 80% de los criminales que entran a las escuelas a disparar, a matar, han comunicado un señal a alguien más. Tienen que poner atención y como dice el Chief of Police, tener la vigilancia de tomarlo como algo serio. We need to take threats seriously. Like the sheriff said, the chief said, anybody who posts a threat to a school, to another person, has to be treated as a real, credible threat. That is the world that we live in now. It's not a joke. I was having fun. I didn't mean it. That doesn't work in today's environment. In today's environment with law enforcement, if you make a threat and you communicate that threat, there will be consequences. Hay consecuencias. No se puede jugar de esa manera en social media. O prepárense ir al cárcel. Ese es el mensaje que se tiene que mandar por todas las escuelas y poner atención a lo que es sospechoso o palabras de esos tipos de amenaza. There's three functions of the district attorney. The first one is to prosecute. El primer cargo del fiscal es de procesar casos en las cortes. Esos casos de las felonías más graves, la meta es de dar castigos altos, comenzando por esos casos de violencia. The most violent criminals, our goal is to put them away in prison for a long time. Injuring any other person, committing felonies or assaults on other persons, we take that very seriously. Okay. The next thing that we do is we work on preventing crime, prevención de crimen. Esa es otra función del fiscal. ¿Y cómo lo hacemos? Pues como dijo el sheriff, como dice el chief of police, trabajando juntos en comunicación entre nuestras agencias, compartir información, reaccionar, responder y ser proactivos, to be proactive in cases. Y como dice el Chief of Police, hay varios casos, a lo mejor ya nos vieron en las noticias, donde vamos, investigamos, levantamos, arrestamos a esas personas que amenazan a alguien en la escuela. Y eso les prometo. Make that promise to you that we will take those threats seriously and treat it as a threat until it is not a threat. Lo vamos a tratar como amenaza hasta que se puede ver que no es amenaza. Últimamente, la protección de la víctima. In the end, our job as prosecutors, yo como fiscal, es de proteger víctimas con programas, con el apoyo, orientación de la corte. La corte puede ser un proceso donde uno se puede sentir intimidado, ¿no? Nosotros estamos aquí para representar a nuestra comunidad como abogados, con consejeros, con todo el equipo que les va a guiar en el proceso. We have a team of experts that will guide you through the court system and provide and help with services for victims' families, for victim survivors, for victim compensation. So el mensaje últimamente es que tienen que tener, y espero que tienen la confianza en nosotros como agencias policíacas, como líderes en esta comunidad, que trabajando juntos podemos tener un sistema de escuela segura. Yo sé que en tiempo quizá vamos a tener policías armados en todas las escuelas, pero eso va a tomar tiempo. It's going to take time to get officers in every single school in the state of Texas. In the meantime, you need to help us. Educate your kids. Talk to your kids. Find out who they're talking to on social media. Get involved in your kids' phones. And report any suspicious information. Any questions?
For example, there's a threat, like somebody is in a joke, like a child, they're joking at the end of the day, like, if they make a threat and a joke, and parent comes to it, no, but the charges on a child because, what's the joke? What is the process that you would take for that? Because it is important for our children to understand how to understand that it's
Very good question. So she's asking that if a high schooler makes a threat that they're a child, si son un joven jugando, bromeando de un tipo de amenaza, nosotros por nuestro lado, como fiscalía, como agencias policíacas, lo tomamos serio, no lo tomamos como juego. So, se va a investigar, esa persona se va a interrogar y vamos a responder. Para ustedes no es para determinar si es juego, si es real, si no. La responsabilidad que tienen ustedes es reportar. Your job is to report it. Nobody should be joking around like that. In today's in school environment, nobody should be joking around. In the state of Texas, you are considered an adult at the age of 17. In the state of Texas, you are considered an adult at the age of 17. You don't go to juvenile anymore. So a big population of seniors can be in the prison with adults for any crime that they commit. And if you do an adult crime, you will do adult time. It's that simple. It's that simple. That is the philosophy we use. If you harm another person in our community, then you will go to prison. Yes, sir.
I came here with solutions, suggestions. Like you said, Laredo is one of the safest cities in the nation, but I'm going to one-up you. Laredo is one of the safest cities in the nation for more than 3 years. And that's thanks to all these law enforcement agencies that are here, minus the Border Patrol and Customs that are missing. But does that mean we're perfect? We're not. We're far from it. Okay? And like he said, we need to get involved. Hay muchos padres allá que dicen, no me quiero meter. ¿Cuántos aquí son maestros o trabajan en la escuela? No más 3. ¿Ok? Ese es un problema. Porque también tenemos que mirar el atmosphere that's being created in the schools. Que los empleados tienen miedo de hablar y decir la verdad. Decir la verdad, because they need to know the truth to make the system work. They go through a lot of training. How many officers do we have in here? 10. How many of you have a full-blown IFAC on you? Raise up your hand. Ninguno. I carry one religiously in my backpack. I was a scout sniper, a trained combat medic. I carry it with me all the time. Don't shoot me, I have one in my leg. I carry it in my leg all the time. I'm ready, not just to take somebody out of the fight, but to save a child that is bleeding. Because once he's shot, he will lose his blood within 2 minutes and die. I have witnessed guys, buddies, soldiers, bodyguards, that I thought were dead, survived more than 2 hours because of this kit. The police officers need that kit. They can carry it on their back, but they don't have it on them. And that's some of the equipment they need. And I talked about this in the board meeting. Okay? Now, some of them I saw that they had a tourniquet. 1 tourniquet. In the military, you know how many tourniquets I carry? 4. 1 for every limb. And the tourniquets that you have, guys, if you haven't noticed, or they haven't taught you properly, they don't work on little kids. So I carry a SWAT team that works on little kids. Okay? So another thing that is happening is we're not talking about mental health. Okay? We're not. And this is another atmosphere that is being created in LISD, and I don't know about UISD, but all these people swore an oath to the Constitution. Okay? And that means protecting free speech. The board members from LISD voted to squash free speech of my cadets, the JROTC Martin cadets. They voted unanimously. No dejaban que trajeran su teléfono y un speaker and put it in a mic because according to LISD text, it's going to cause a virus. They wanted to show the world the proof that they have been lied to. Que les han hueado el dedo en la boca. And yet they made those changes. What's the problem there? Again, we're in the middle of a pandemic. There's a lot of depression. And they're doing that to our kids. They're doing that to our parents. They're adding more pressure. And what happened to that kid in Uvalde? He was probably there because of all this stuff negative that was affecting him.
Sir,
okay?
Excuse me. Is it possible that I can let the...
We have until 9 o'clock and this is not a board meeting.
I know. If you can just please, I'm asking you as a favor, if you can just let them finish and then you can continue.
I can come back?
Yes.
Great.
What is your name, sir? So Mr. Reese brings up some good points. And I appreciate your observations, Mr. Reese. Mental health is an issue. And that is something that we consider once the person is in custody. So, eso de lo que es cualquier enfermedad mental o emocional que una persona quizá puede tener, eso se va a examinar en el tiempo de que la persona se detiene para ver qué está pasando. Pero no cambia la situación. Todavía tienen la responsabilidad de reportar cualquier amenaza. The important thing is to stop the threat before it becomes reality. Okay, so I hope. probably have the school answer that question for you as far as what sort of notice you get if there isn't an active shooter. I'm not the person to answer that question, but we will answer that question for you. That's a good question. Again, my office, the district attorney's office, our job here is to protect you and your families in the courts. Okay, so our office is available. My lawyers are available 24/7 and working with law enforcement in helping stop threats 24/7, 7 days a week. We have attorneys working and taking phone calls from police officers and assisting law enforcement at all times. So thank you so much. I really appreciate your time and being here. Yes, ma'am.
Buenas tardes a todos y primero quiero felicitar a todos que están presentes aquí esta noche. Quería nomás tocar algo que Mr. Alanis mencionó. Lo importante es la comunicación. Esa es la clave. Yo trabajo en la corte y soy el coordinador de los casos de adolescentes, de nuestros niños. Y lo que dice Mr. Alanis es correcto. Nosotros hemos escuchado cosas que ocurren y hay muchas cosas que hay que checar en los teléfonos de nuestros chamacos. Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp. Hay muchos problemas que están ocurriendo en la comunidad ahorita. En la escuela, traficando de humanos. Muchachos que lo están llamando para traficar personas ilegales. Y eso se comunica por el teléfono. Amenazas, como mencionaron ahorita. Oh, es una broma. Yo he visto chamacos en la corte. Y la diferencia en los casos de adolescentes, ahí no hay fianza para los menores. Se hace una audiencia de detención. Y si la corte determina que hay un peligro para la seguridad de las personas o no hay supervisión del menor, el menor sigue detenido. Pero es muy importante, si ustedes escuchan algo que se oye, que sus hijos están hablando y que va a haber se van a pelear una tarde, o esta persona trae drogas, o esta persona está haciendo esto, comuníquense con las policías. Si alguien los están amenazando, hagan el reporte, padres, por favor. Porque yo he visto chamacos ahí 3 veces a la semana. Oh, pues me amenazó. ¿Y qué hiciste? Pues le pegué. ¿Reportaste? No. ¿Le dijiste a tus maestros? No. Por eso están aquí todos el día de hoy, para poder todos estar, que nuestros hijos estén seguros. Pero su aviso está correcto. La comunicación es la clave, padres. Y eso puede prevenir una desgracia, puede prevenir que nuestros hijos se metan en problemas. Porque les voy a decir algo, si tienen un antecedente juvenil, eso se va a quedar con ellos, padres. Y muchos creen que no, pero sí les va a afectar. Nosotros recibimos reportes en la corte del Departamento Federal. Cuando los FBI detienen a las personas por traficando o X, los departamentos de libertad condicional federal piden permiso a la corte para investigar los antecedentes criminales. Eso sí les afecta. Comunicación, padre, se los pido como padre, como personal de la corte. La comunicación es la clave para llegar que todos estemos seguros. Gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alanis. Next we have, with the Texas Department of Public Safety, we have Sergeant Estrada.
Hello guys, good evening. I'm Sergeant Erg Estrada, the spokesperson for DPS here at the South Region. And just to echo a little bit about the law enforcement partners that are up here. Part of this team doesn't just include law enforcement, it also includes you guys. You guys are also part of the team. And just like someone echoed right now, it's very important of what happens in the household, because remember, in the school is a learning center. The school is designed for students to learn. So they're not designed to keep contraband out. That's our job and job of law enforcement, and we have security for that. But the students come in here to learn. Even the most protected jail systems, prison systems, contraband still manages to get inside those facilities. So just keeping that in mind, and under the direction of Greg Abbott, I know he designed with DPS a program that's called I Watch Texas. This is very important, guys. Most of the students nowadays, even elementary kids, now every single student for the most part has a cell phone. I didn't have my first cell phone, I believe, until I was a senior in high school. And Maggie was my dean, and Mr. Pettis was my principal in Pettis Elementary. But what I'm saying is that these kids are attached to these phones. Everyone nowadays has a phone, so I highly recommend everybody to download that program. It's called I Watch Texas, and what you do there is that you report any suspicious activity that is occurring. It doesn't matter the level of threat, you have to report it through there. Now, if it's an emergency, obviously you dial 911. But if it's not an emergency, you just have a suspicion of something going on with a student, with a parent, it doesn't matter, you report it through that system. It's called I Watch Texas. Now, another thing, man, it's very difficult for me to come up here because, you know, Eva, who was one of the teachers who unfortunately lost her life in the Uvalde incident, I had just met her that previous weekend. I only met her once, and just a quick story, I went to Concan, and one of my best friends, he invited me, and she was there, and she had a conversation with my wife, because my wife wants to be a teacher, and I spoke to Eva, and Eva asked me, hey Eric, hey, are you gonna cook out? I heard that you do this amazing barbecue. And I was like, well, I wouldn't call it amazing, it's a Laredo barbecue, but I'll try my best. She's like, well, I'll try it. I eat vegan food, so I'm not a big meat eater, but I'll try your food. So I ended up doing some barbecue. She liked it, so I guess my barbecue isn't that bad, but it broke my heart when I found out Eva lost her life, and I had only met her once and for a couple of hours, so I would hate for something like that to happen here in Laredo, especially because I've lived all my life here. So let's all be a team. If there is something that you guys think is going on in the household, it doesn't stop there. That student, that troubled student, or that student going through you know, some kind of mental breakdown, that goes on and pushes forward to the schools. And then now the teacher becomes a parent. And I've always said, you know, my teachers have always been a second parent for me. They've been a mentor for me. So there's something going on at the household. You guys are not alone. You guys have support from all the staff up here. And there's always someone that can help you guys out. But what we want is we want to be proactive. We don't want to be reactive. We don't want something tragic to occur, and then later on, someone comes up in the news and says, oh yes, I knew about that student. I knew that he did this and he did that, and that he needed help. Well, no, now it's too late. I want you to tell me beforehand, before something happens, that we were able to help that student out. That's all I have to say, but if you guys need any kind of assistance, just reach out to DPS, reach out to your Laredo Police Department, to county, state officials, federal partners. We're here to help you guys. We're here to help everyone. Every single life is important here, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergeant. Next we have from the Federal Bureau of Investigations, we have Supervisor Special Agent Jorge Hernandez. Also, we have Special Agent Matt Alves and Special Agent Jacob Cohen. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Good evening. It's going to be shorter but a lot of people don't even know that we have an FBI office here in Laredo. So for everyone to know, we do have an office here. We have 2 full squads with special agents and task force officers. Task force officers are officers for those departments over here, including the police department and the district attorney's office, that work hand in hand with our special agents. When it comes to the school security, our role is a support role. So anything that the chief needs, the district attorney's office needs, we're going to be assisting. We will stop doing whatever we're doing to assist the police departments in whatever they need. A lot of this investigation is going to take us to other states, other towns, so we have that reach, and we're going to be assisting in anything. We are a phone call away for anything that they need. We're part of this community too. I've been here 16 years. This is home for me. I have kids, I have wife. So we understand what you're going through. So a lot of my agents, I have a lot of agents that come from far away, but I have a lot of agents that are part of this community. So anything that you guys need, we'll do to us.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. So that's the team that gets together and works the cases that we need to at our school level. Now there's something that I wanted to mention briefly. Why did I bring these people together? I wanted you all, quería que ustedes supieran que nosotros no trabajamos solos. LISD does not work alone. We work as a team. I introduced you to them today. They introduced themselves. They're always willing to work and help us in anything we need. And how do I know that? Something that came out in the news, I'm going to address it a little bit with the permission of the district attorney's of course. I can't say too much about it because it's still under investigation. But there was a concern that was brought up the day before school started. And that concern came through a parent to one of our LISD police officers. A parent. That is why it's very important for you all to know. Es bien importante que sepan que ustedes también nos tienen que comunicar. Porque si esa madre no había hablado, algo diferente hubiera pasado. Pero hablaron, they called our police department and we got the ball rolling. All these people that you see here assisted us within 30 minutes of a phone call that was made. 30 minutes, I had a table full of officers willing to assist. And at the end of the day, we're happy to announce that the situation was eliminated. But it took a parent, and that's the important thing here. La llamada de un padre o una madre es bien importante para nosotros. So it's something I wanted to share with you. I can't go into details because it's still under investigation. But that was the important part of that. A parent calling. Ustedes. Hablando nosotros y podemos asistirlos. Okay? We're going into a presentation really quickly. Do we have one? You had a question, ma'am? Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry? Okay. Sure. So right.
It says, kids are going to go in late, or something's going to happen, or classes are canceled, and that's really convenient because
Okay.
all of us know and get that automated message.
Okay.
In case of an active shooter, as soon as you hear that, you panic. You don't know what
Right,
to do.
of course.
The first thing as a parent, for me, if I'm not instructed what to do, is to go to the school. And I'll be honest, I'll try to, how can I get my child?
Sure.
That's all I want.
Of course.
So in order for us to help you, what are the steps that we're going to follow?
Okay, so they're going to get into more detail on that in a little bit because there are other speakers, but we're going to have Ms. Martinez answer a little bit of that question, okay?
Really quick, the program that we use is called Messenger, and that's how you get your messages. So in a case like this, yes, you will receive a phone call, but it will have to be in individual campuses because the principals have access to that, that system. And for example, you don't want to panic also the community and announce it to everybody and then panic all the parents in the district when it's a situation in a smaller scale. So yes, you will be notified and you will be given information as it goes, through the process because we don't want all the parents of the school either because we're trying to protect the kids and the parents also. We don't want to get, but we do have processes in place, and you will be guided through the messenger system. And we also have social media, we have emails. That's why it's very important, and I'm glad you brought up this conversation and question. It's very important for parents to provide the correct phone number to the schools and the correct email, because we have parents who switch phone numbers every month or every 2 weeks or every 6 weeks, and by the time you call them, they receive the messenger in the first phone that they provided in September, and this situation might happen in January, and we have a different phone number. So it's very important. Es muy importante, padres, gracias, ma'am. Es muy importante que por favor den el número de teléfono correcto a las escuelas por alguna situación que se pueda presentar, obviamente como este caso, porque les vamos a mandar un mensaje al teléfono que ustedes proveyeron a la escuela cuando registran a los muchachos. Pero lo registramos ahorita, en agosto, en julio, en junio. Llega diciembre y ya cambiaron de número 3 o 4 veces y no le notifican a la escuela. Y es muy difícil comunicarnos con ustedes. Si hay una situación difícil como la que está expresando la señorita aquí, entonces, ¿cómo nos vamos a comunicar con ustedes? Por el medio del programa de Messenger, así se llama el programa que usamos en las escuelas para comunicar con los padres de familia, y también por medio de email. Tenemos acceso a sus emails también y les podemos mandar notificaciones por emails si es algo más particular. If there's a smaller scale of parents that need to be notified, you don't want to alarm everybody, no quieres asustar a todos. So, si hay maneras de comunicarnos, solamente por favor provean a las escuelas con la información correcta. Gracias.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez. Before we go any further, some of our agency members may need to step out, but that's why I had them speak at the very beginning. So feel free if you all need to leave to go ahead. Really quickly, because we need to keep it going. What are we doing at Lisd? ¿Qué estamos haciendo en Lisd to keep our kids safe? Normally, Lisd Police Department, any police department, we do reactive work. Algo pasa y luego llegamos, ¿verdad? That's normally the work that police do. However, at Lisd Police Department, we are being a little proactive by going into active shooter drills. So, what are active shooter drills? We go out to the schools. We've been going out to the schools, and we do active shooter drills with our officers, and to make sure our officers know exactly what they're going to do. We have 31 campuses that we need to get to. And slowly but surely, we're going to do an active shooter drill in every campus that we have. During the summer, we spend a lot of time doing that, working with our officers, working with administrators, so that each of them can know what exactly they have to do if, God forbid, an active shooter occurs in their campus. So active shooter drills consist of officers being exposed to realistic and possible scenarios that may happen within the school district. All department officers are trained in active shooter response. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much. We are enhancing our training. So what does that mean? We're going to be doing it more consistently. We want our officers to get to know all the different campuses that we have, because every campus is a little bit different than the other. So we're doing that. So throughout the year, we'll be trying to hit all the schools, the 31 campuses, so that our officers know how to respond to each campus. Ejercicio del tirador activo. Eso es lo que estamos haciendo en las escuelas con los oficiales, para que los oficiales comiencen a saber los planes de las escuelas, y los administradores, para que ellos sepan también qué es lo que van a hacer ellos si algo pase así en sus escuelas. Pues eso es algo que estamos haciendo. Otra cosa, department programs. So we're bringing in something called See Something, Say Something. It's a campaign that we're bringing into the school district. I'm going to go through it really quick. It's very simple. We're going to put bulletins all around the schools, posters around each campus, that's going to show that if they see something, not only see something, but hear something. And we will tell all the students that. If you see something, hear something, say something. And what does that mean? Email us, call us, There's going to be a QR code where they can scan it and they can turn in a very brief questionnaire. Vamos a tener eso en todas las escuelas. Vamos a poner bulletin boards en todas las escuelas y también afuera para que ustedes también agarren esa información. Si algo miran, si algo oyen, nos pueden llamar. And this is anonymous. No tienen que dar sus nombres. ¿Ok? Ese es uno de los programas. Otro programa que vamos a traer este verano, en fall, se va a llamar Lisd, the Lisd Program. ¿Qué quiere decir eso? Mandamos a unos oficiales para que se certifiquen a hablar con los niños de elementary. So, van a ir los oficiales a las escuelas a dar clases una vez a la semana. We're going to hit third graders. Vamos a hablar con los niños de third grade, porque además tengo 3 oficiales que están certificados para hablar con los niños de las diferentes cosas, violencia, drogas, bullying, todo eso vamos a hablar con ellos. So, esa es otra cosa que vamos a hacer el departamento de policía para poder ayudarles. Estoy tratando de ir de voladita. Command staff, otra cosa que cambié este año. The command staff que tengo, que son 2 lieutenants, 4 sergeants, myself, and an investigator. We're all going to have an office at a school now. We're all going to have school-based offices. So there's going to be more police presence in our secondary schools. I myself have an office at a school as well. So all secondary schools will be covered. Todas las escuelas secundarias ahora tienen un oficial ahí de command. Tenientes, sargentos, investigador, y yo también tengo una escuela donde voy a estar. Esa es otra cosa que hicimos este año para que se miren más policías en las secundarias y todo eso. A joint effort, working together. Como les expliqué aquí ya conocieron a toda la gente que hablaron con ustedes. Trabajamos juntos en todos los casos, como les dije. Ya pasó un caso, trabajamos juntos y se eliminó el threat. The threat was eliminated, porque las voces de ustedes nos ayudan, ¿verdad? A nosotros. So, por favor, comuníquense con nosotros. Van a ver esos boletines afuera de las escuelas, adentro de las escuelas. Por favor, agarren ese número. Esto va a salir dentro de 2 semanas. Ya vamos a tener eso en todas las escuelas. Para acabar con esto, to all LISD parents, tengo un mensaje para ustedes. Lo voy a decir en inglés y lo voy a decir en español. It is understandable for you parents to feel uneasy and worried about the safety of your children. However, as the LISD Chief of Police, and more importantly, as a parent myself, I would like our LISD family to rest assured knowing that my staff and I are fully committed to providing the best care and protection for their children while they're under our watch. It is also important for our parents, like you've heard time and time again, to understand that protecting our children is a group effort, and that we encourage the extra vigilance and continued support. Together, we can ensure that our children and our campuses will remain a safe learning environment. I'm going to jump into a very personal story that I shared with principals, assistant principals, staff members. Les voy a contar una historia bien personal para mí. Yo tengo un hijo. Soy la madre de un hijo. Roberto se llama mi hijo. Y unas semanas pasadas, él fue conmigo a Uvalde. Él tiene 16 años y también es estudiante. Y le expliqué, lo senté y le dije, si un día no llego a la casa porque fallecí I died in the line of duty. Quiero que sepas, hijo, that I died doing what I love to do. And I want you to be okay with that. Because your mom died doing what she loves to do. I want you to know that that was very hard to have with my son, but it is very real. And that is a promise that I make not only as your LISD Chief of Police, but as a mother myself. I am here to protect your children. Our staff is here to protect your children, and I want you to rest assured of that. Does anybody have any questions for me before we send it over to the next? Yes, sir, go ahead.
Sorry, Chief. I do have a question for you. Thank you for what you guys do. And tell our law enforcement officials or DA and all the teachers are here. You know, I'm also a parent, right?
Yes.
And I have a very different perspective. I was in EMS for a very long time. And we get ready for anything at any time because everything that can't go wrong will go wrong.
Yes.
My question to you is maybe a suggestion as well. Like a lot of what we've heard, everybody's going to have a different opinion on it. The reality is we don't know what we're going to face every day because every day changes.
Right.
When was the last time we've had individual risk assessments on our campuses? Because every time a teacher moves and they put up different decorations, or every time we move this department to that section of the school, and the whole layout changes. And it's very easy as a culture to get complacent.
Sure.
We say, oh, it was fine yesterday, it's going to be fine today. But that's not how it works.
No.
And we understand that. I struggle with it a lot. I personally work in the hospital right now, and one of my biggest pet peeves is when somebody props a door open. A secure door. I'm just going to run out to my truck real quick. That's an access point.
Sure.
Right? And it doesn't matter, at least in my opinion, and I'll be very frank, all the cell phones in the world, all the weapons in the world didn't help one. There was armed officers, there were trained officers, there was all security in the world in one. The shooter ran into a secure door that was unsecured. And so I guess my question, do we have a plan going forward for our schools? Because again, we need to do that annually, right? Maybe biannually. I don't know what the process is. It takes a lot of resources, and I understand that.
Yes, sir.
But do we have a plan going forward? And then maybe we can share with the schools, not the plan, because we don't want it to go public, but say, hey, we can validate that your school is secure because we just did a risk assessment.
Absolutely. So you're going to hear that from our next speakers. So that's from the safety department. Thank you for your question, though. Does anybody else have a question for me in regards to policing and anything that we are doing in our department?
Chief.
Yes, sir.
I know, as you mentioned on your program,
yes.
You know, first I commend you on bringing something like this type of program to the district to inform our children. You know, when I was in the drug court program, I used to go to presentations at schools, and one of the studies that I found out is that I would ask the kids, how many of you 10 years old have seen, know of somebody or been around marijuana? And a lot of them will raise their hands. And it's sad.
Yes.
And evaluations that I will conduct in my field of work, that will be some of the responses that I will hear from the people that will be doing an assessment. It's so sad. So I'm happy that you're bringing this before, but the important thing, as it's being mentioned across, is communication.
Yes.
One of the things that I would like to recommend, suggest, is that for everybody to be advised, informed as to what to do, like not only in elementary schools, in secondaries, in high schools, during parent meetings. This is what, in case you're going through some situation, esto es lo que pueden hacer. Esta es la manera de hacer reportar. Porque como se mencionó a veces, muchas personas tienen el miedo de hacer un reporte. Hay muchas personas que están aquí indocumentadas. No, tengo miedo de hacer un reporte porque a lo mejor me puede afectar. Yo puedo decir algo que la escuela no va a ir a reportar a nadie. Eso yo tengo la confianza al 100%. Porque ellos están aquí para darle la educación a nuestros hijos. Pero no pueden dar la seguridad completa si no les informamos a ellos, y viceversa, que nos digan, esta es la manera de hacer un reporte, pueden llenar de esta forma, se entrega a esta persona, el proceso, porque muchas veces somos nosotros padres como víctimas, no, quiero que lo encierren, que lo profundan en la cárcel, pero muchas veces hay el sistema, como mencionó, es un juego. Pero como si hubiera sido del otro lado de la moneda, no, que me lo encierren, ¿me entiendes? Pero es donde la comunicación y trabajando todos, y tengo la confianza que sí se va a hacer mucho cambio.
Yes.
Pero sí le pido que todos trabajemos juntos, unidos, como uno. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you. Mr. Pettis?
Thank you very much, Chief. Thank you, Mr. Ramirez. Good evening. My name is Oscar Perez. I'm the Executive Director for Health and Safety for LISD. Mr. Mora and I are going to be talking about several things that LISD does. To begin with, Mr. Gomez made reference to our Safety and Security Committee. This is a committee that has been established by statute. By law, we have to have this committee. And by law, we have to have several meetings as well. So if you notice the list of individuals, notice that the LISD Board President, Mr. Hector Garcia, is part of this committee. The statute requires only one other board member. Well, we have two. We have Mr. Ricardo Garza and Mr. Guadalupe Gomez. Of course, our superintendent, myself, Mr. Mora. The statute requires only one teacher. We have two, one for elementary and one for secondary. We have the LISD Chief of Police, Chief Hale. We have our City of Laredo emergency person, Mr. Guillermo Hurd, who's the management coordinator for emergency. You saw Sheriff Martin Cuellar here today. We also have two parents. Again, the statute requires only one parent. We have two, one for elementary, one for secondary. And at the very bottom, I think it didn't come out, but we do have Chief Trevino as well as part of the City of Laredo Police Department. So a lot of things are done through our Safety and Security Committee. We have to meet. The last meeting that we had was August the 3rd. La última vez que se juntó este comité fue el 3 de agosto y repasamos el plan de emergencia que mencionó el señor, ¿verdad? Muchas de las cosas no podemos decir qué son, ¿verdad? Pero lo tenemos en el plan. Ese plan se ha pedido por el Texas School Safety Center. Nosotros lo vamos a entregar el día 12 de septiembre para que se repase, ¿verdad? Parte del plan incluye lo que se llama el Active Shooter Annex y el Active Shooter Appendix. Ahí lleva más detalle y cómo preparamos para eso antes, durante y después de la crisis. Entonces ese plan se va a entregar también junto con el Appendix. Okay, so el Estado nos acaba de mandar un criterio para evaluarlo nosotros si tenemos todos los componentes del plan. Pero como dijeron, ¿verdad? Muchas de las cosas podemos mencionar generalmente, pero muchos de los detalles no podemos decir, ¿verdad? Y estamos protegidos por la ley también. Entonces, como les dije, la última vez que nos juntamos, y como dijo Mr. Gómez, ¿verdad? A los padres de familia que están en el comité, yo creo que ya se fue Miss Chavana. Aquí estuvo Miss Chavana. Miss Chavana, are you here? Still? Okay. So, y luego Miss Rita Ramírez también, quería introducirles también, pero ellas también, créanmelo, aquí está Mr. Gómez para que diga, siempre se les da la oportunidad de decir algo y han tomado la oportunidad de representarlos a todos ustedes. ¿Ok? All right. Una de las cosas que hacemos es, como dijeron anteriormente todos los que presentaron, es el entrenamiento. Entonces, el entrenamiento para todos los del plantel, ¿verdad? Entrenamiento para los maestros, entrenamiento para los de la cocina, para los suplentes, ¿verdad? Y eventualmente para los estudiantes también. ¿Qué es lo que vamos a enseñarles o qué les entrenamos? Les entrenamos en los protocolos que se siguen cuando hay una crisis, ¿verdad? Estos son los drills. Nosotros practicamos todo esto, ¿verdad? El primero es hold, o sea, esperen. Es simplemente nomás seguir todas las cosas usualmente, ¿verdad? Business as usual, pero vamos a estar de que todos los niños estén en los salones. Los ejemplos que doy es, por ejemplo, si viene una tormenta y vamos a dejar salir a los niños, pues no, los vamos a hold, ¿verdad? Los vamos a detener un rato. Si hay, vamos a suponer, voy a decir, un murciélago en los pasillos, ¿verdad? Que no ha ocurrido, by the way, no ha ocurrido. Pero si hay un murciélago en los pasillos, entonces hacemos un hold, ¿verdad? Y tenemos a todos los niños mientras que ese murciélago se captura, ¿verdad? El secure es cuando, por ejemplo, hay un raid en una casa cerca del plantel, cerca del campus. Vamos a suponer que nos avisan y avisan a Chief Hill. Van a ir todos los policías a esta casa porque hay drogas ahí, vamos a ir a sacar las drogas y a sacar las personas. Cuando nos avisan de eso, vamos a suponer unos 2-3 cuadras de ahí de la escuela, entonces nosotros hacemos lo que se llama secure, ¿verdad? Cierre de emergencia. Entonces, echen llave a las puertas exteriores, todo sigue igual, ¿ok? Sigamos el aprendizaje y todo. La crisis es afuera del plantel. La crisis es afuera del plantel. Entonces, nosotros cerramos los gates, ¿verdad? Estamos al tanto. El departamento de policía está al tanto de que si van pasando corriendo unos inmigrantes, ¿verdad? Y la policía detrás de ellos para que no se metan al plantel. Ok, ese es un ejemplo de secure. El lockdown, les voy a platicar de lo que experiencié hoy, que Cigarroa High School tuvo un lockdown, ¿verdad? Entonces yo llego y esto es lo que dijeron. Y otra vez, esto le entrenamos a todos los administradores la semana de julio 25 al julio 29 y así demostré. Lockdown, lost, lights, out of sight. ¿Qué quiere decir eso? Que todo debe estar atrancado, ¿verdad? Las luces se apagan y todos los niños y todos los que están en los salones se van a ir a un lugar donde no se pueda ver de la puerta. También se va a tapar la ventanita de la puerta, ¿verdad? Entonces, para que no haya visualidad de individuos, ¿verdad? Entonces, ese es un ejemplo de un drill que hacemos. Y hoy lo experiencié en Cigarroa High School. Ya muchos de los planteles ya hicieron el lockdown drill. ¿Por qué? Porque Mr. Mora ya asignó de que los lockdown drills se tenían que hacer para el día 26 de agosto. Y los demás drills también ya están programados. ¿Por qué? Porque también el estado de Texas, TEA, Texas School Safety Center, nos requiere que tengamos asignados todos los drills. Entonces nosotros los practicamos. Ya escuché, ya me dieron de aviso los directores, las directoras, de que ya están haciendo todas estas prácticas. ¿Okay? Y la razón que lo hacemos es porque si llega a haber una crisis, vamos a responder como lo hemos practicado. ¿Okay? Y siempre les dije a toda la administración, la manera en que vamos a responder va a ser la manera en que lo hemos practicado. ¿Okay? Así es que hoy, por ejemplo, vi, ¿verdad? Que estábamos practicando el lockdown drill. Chequeé nomás un hall, ¿verdad? Yo chequeé un hall, estaba todo trancado, las luces apagadas, no vi a ninguna persona. Lo que sí vi, ¿verdad? Fue el monitorio, ¿verdad? Donde están todas las cámaras, y sí vi que la administración estaba checando cada puerta, ¿verdad? Y luego después de eso nos juntamos y dialogamos en qué podemos mejorar. Ese es evidencia y documentación de que estamos haciendo todo esto para la seguridad de nuestros niños. ¿Okay? All right. La siguiente, ¿algunas preguntas sobre los protocolos? Sí, dígame.
Mr. Pérez, en referencia de los lockdowns, yo he tenido la oportunidad de estar en diferentes planteles. Pero mi mortificación es que siempre que he estado en estos lugares, la administración de la escuela ya sabe lo que va a ocurrir. Y va a haber un lockdown drill. Pero una recomendación sería que nos anuncien que va a haber un lockdown drill. Y ponen que decir, yourself go and let's do it right now. Y así uno se da cuenta que hay que mejorar, que donde hubo una falla. Porque, digo, mi cuestión ha sido como durante la hora de comida.
Sí, claro.
¿Dónde van a estar? ¿Dónde vamos a meter a todos los estudiantes? Y esa es una mortificación, porque al final del día se hace clear, pero no sabemos si todas las personas fueron apuntadas, si faltan 10, faltan 20, ¿entiendes? Porque donde quiera puede estar allá en un cuarto ahí que nadie se da cuenta y ahí y no puede pasar lo peor. Pero eso sería una sugestión que se junten los jefes y hagan esa prueba para ver si están trabajando, dónde se puede mejorar la situación. Y ahora otra parte del poll que mencionó del clima. La semana pasada hubo un tornado warning y le pregunté a mi chamaca si there was a tornado, they went into tornado mode. Me acuerdo cuando estaba en primaria había tornado drills, pero no. Y esa fue una mortificación para mí. Claro, aquí casi nunca ocurre ese tipo de clima, pero sí ha ocurrido aquí. ¿Me entiendes? Esa es una mortificación que está pasando, andaban afuera practicando y eso es algo que a lo mejor se puede tomar en consideración en el futuro para poder prevenir una tragedia.
Seguro que sí, Mr. Ramírez. Vamos a tocar los 3 puntos. Primeramente, como les avisé al principio, nosotros tenemos que determinar cuándo se hacen los drills. Y yo tengo que verificar para el día 9 de septiembre, yo tengo que verificar y confirmar que los drills estaban scheduled. Y como digo, por eso Mr. Mora sent out the information to schedule the drills. So, eso tenemos que seguir. Si no, tengo que decir, pues, no, we didn't schedule them, pues tienen que estar scheduled y luego tenemos que monitorear que se hicieron los drills, ¿verdad? Y si tomamos parte en varios de los drills y vamos a las escuelas. Y qué bueno que usted también experimentó eso. Tocante el tornado warning, créanme lo que tenemos línea directa con el Weather Service de Corpus Christi. Y Mr. Mora no se cansa de mandarnos la información, ¿verdad? Y claro, uno lo lee y dice, no, pues aquí no va a llover, ¿verdad? Se va a pasar por aquel lado, ¿verdad? Y aunque Guillermo Heard, ¿verdad? Our City Management nos manda también información, ¿verdad? Entonces estamos viendo toda esa información. El ejemplo que le puedo dar, por ejemplo, yo sé que no es plantel, pero teníamos la alberca abierta, ¿verdad? Para los empleados. Entonces, si había a las 6, como a las 5 nos avisan, ahí viene una tormenta, a lo mejor llega por ahí, vamos a cerrar mejor, ¿verdad? Entonces, estamos al tanto de lo que es el shelter y cualquier cosa que pueda ocurrir, entonces tenemos que cuidar a nuestros niños y a nuestros empleados y la comunidad también, ¿verdad? Yes, go ahead.
Mi nombre es Sheila y soy volunteer de Farías.
Very good.
A veces uno se queja de que no nos avisan o esto o lo otro. Yo como padre voluntario he estado cuando se han hecho los lockdowns.
Sí.
Y gracias a la escuela, gracias a la paralización de ese momento, supimos cómo actuar. La pregunta es de que si pueden hacer un programa para cuando haya juntas, decirle a los padres, porque hay padres que van a levantar a sus niños, hay padres que van a entregar, no sé, un suéter, algo que se les olvida a los niños, y no saben en sí cómo actuar. Estaría bien poder establecer algo para que uno como padre sepa actuar. No pánico, a lo mejor ellos no van a saber de qué iba a haber un lockdown y ellos están adentro y a lo mejor puede haber un problema.
Sí, y sonrío porque hubo 2 padres de familia ahí en Cigarrón, en ese pasillo, ¿verdad? Ya cuando terminamos, yo fui y hablé con ellos, ¿verdad? ¿Cómo se sintió? No, pues nerviosa, pero hice lo que me dijeron los maestros, ¿verdad?
Y muchas veces uno mismo trae pánico porque a mami y a mí, está un tiroteo en la escuela y uno, oh my God, fue por mi hijo y ahí es otro problema.
Sí, y ahorita les digo de reunificación. Okay? So thank you, ma'am. I appreciate that, and I'm glad that you brought that up and your personal experience on that. El Estado también nos requiere que tengamos lo que se llama un Summer Targeted Partial Audit. Entonces vamos a checar lo que es el plantel. Hubo 47 preguntas que cada plantel tuvo que tener un equipo y responder a esas preguntas. Entonces yo les di cierto tiempo para terminar este audit, ¿verdad? Esta encuesta, y luego tuve una junta aquí con cada una de nuestras escuelas, Cada escuela estuvo platicando conmigo, y Mr. Mora y Mr. González, tocante las respuestas de su acto. Entonces, ahí tenemos un plan de cómo vamos a responder para ayudarles, ¿verdad?, a los planteles. Esto ya se terminó, otra vez por ley se tiene que terminar. Para el día 9 de septiembre yo tengo que confirmar y verificar que se hizo el Summer Targeted Partial Audit, ¿ok? Y les quiero asegurar que todos los 31 plantel hicieron su Summer Targeted Audit. Exterior Door Audits, a la misma vez también tuvieron que tener, este equipo de cada plantel tuvo que checar y numerar cada puerta exterior y checar si los Mr. Lieutenant Camillo, can you show me the middle bar? Middle bar, just the middle bar. Point to the middle bar. Ese es lo que se llama un sturdy mullion. Mr. Lieutenant Camillo, can you shake it to see if it moves? No se debe de mover porque eso va a detener las dos puertas. Entonces cada plantel, el número de sturdy mullions que tengan, tienen que decirme si están trabajando como deben trabajar. Porque eso se quitan. Ayer que yo entré, estaban quitados. Porque, no sé por qué, los iban a pintar, yo creo, algo así. ¿Okay? Pero todos los días tienen que estar sturdy, tienen que estar listos para funcionar como deben. ¿Okay? Entonces los exterior door audits, tenemos de un plantel de 2 puertas, porque el plantel está en construcción, solo nomás tienen 2 puertas, ¿verdad? Hasta un high school que tiene 85 puertas exteriores. Entonces el exterior door audit, ellos vieron si el sturdy mullion trabaja. Lieutenant Camillo, can you go show the door closer? Just point up. The door closer, that one. That's the door closer. Lieutenant Camillo, can you open the door and make sure that it closes? Just let it go now. Ok, así debe trabajar, sin ninguna asistencia, sin ninguna ayuda. Lieutenant Camillo, can you also please show me the push bar? Just point to the push bar. Ok, y si oyeron que cerró y arrancó, ¿verdad? ¿Lo oyeron? ¿Lo oyeron que se oyó clic? Algo así. Ok, so eso también checan cada una de las puertas. Ok, ese es el exterior door audit. Y la semana pasada revisamos cada uno de ellos y si trabajaron o no trabajaron. Si no están trabajando, se reporta con un work order para que vengan a componerlo. ¿Ok? Entonces, todas las 31 planteles tuvieron o terminaron con el exterior door audit. Yo para el día 9 de septiembre yo voy a confirmar que todos hicieron. ¿Ok? Ahora voy a seguir con los weekly exterior door sweeps. Ahora, yeah, okay, go ahead and ask your question. Buenas tardes.
Una pregunta. En caso de un lockdown, como habló, que si se llega a hacer un operativo cerca de la escuela, los padres nos van a notificar por medio de mensajes. Nos enteramos en las redes sociales. Muchas veces nos enteramos cuando dicen, oye, cerca de una escuela cayó no sé qué, porque sacaron a no sé qué tanto y todo eso, pero vamos a recibir un mensaje ahorita en este año.
Sí, el School Messenger ya platiqué con Ms. Castillón, ¿verdad? Porque tenemos que tener esa comunicación que mencionó todos.
O en la página que se llama Dojo.
Sí.
Por ahí cuando van a enviar mensajes o algo, o sea, de las escuelas. Yo tengo niños en Sánchez Ochoa y en Denizcapur.
Ok.
O sea, en caso que haya algún operativo o algo que haya cerca de la escuela, todo lo que es necesario, los padres de la escuela.
Sí, porque se avisa al chiheo, ¿verdad? Nosotros avisamos lo que se llama al EOC, con los superintendentes, y ahí Ms. Castillo va a poner lo escrito, lo que salga oficialmente de the Board of Trustees, del presidente, ¿verdad? Y Dr. Reeves. Y se manda.
Otras de la ecuación, lo va a tomar todavía, porque miren de estatus. Las personas o los estudiantes, en caso de un incendio o algo, ¿cómo van a evacuar a los estudiantes que están en la segunda planta? Por las ventanas, tienen ventanas que se pueden abrir, escaleras porque se pueden realizar los estudiantes en caso de incendio.
Ahorita nomás los escalones.
¿Y se les salen los escalones?
Si practicamos, debemos de practicar cuando hacemos los fire drills, debemos de practicar un área que está con un obstáculo. Okay, so eso se hace también. El elevador, en esa situación, no se puede utilizar porque no tenemos el power supply, no tenemos un generador solamente para el elevador.
O sea, yo me preocupo eso porque entra una persona armada y dice que está en la segunda planta. Esa persona puede recorrer toda la escuela, puede hacer lo que quiera. O sea, ¿cómo van a ayudar a los que están arriba?
Sí, pues como le digo, the exterior doors have to be locked, ¿verdad? Yo sé que también the interior classroom doors are locked, but they have the magnets, ¿verdad? And again, whenever something happens, we have the drills and we have the statements that is done. Lockdown, lockdown. So ahí inmediatamente tienen que responder.
Me comentó que ella, como es pequeña, la maestra dijo que los pequeños se pueden esconder debajo de los...
Sí, yo les iba a enseñar un video que se llama Run, Hide, Fight, ¿verdad? Donde enseña, y ya se los dimos a los planteles para que les enseñen el video. Es de 12 minutos a todos los niños para saber qué vamos a hacer. Si se puede correr, pues vámonos a correr, ¿verdad? Del peligro. Si necesitamos escondernos, pues we hide, ¿verdad? O la última cosa sería pelear, ¿verdad? Si llegamos a ese punto. Ok, la última cosa, como les digo, la encuesta, yo tengo que confirmar, verificar que todo esto se hizo. Quiero que sepan que hoy esta tarde, porque apenas recibí el link para mandarlo, pero esta tarde ya hice todas las preguntas, respondí a todas las preguntas, son 14 preguntas. Pero no la mando hasta que la reviso con nuestra superintendente, ¿verdad? Alright, so esos son lo que estamos haciendo. Ahora sí, reunificación. Me imagino que hicieron preguntas. ¿Poeta?
Is it a daily thing or is it just like once a week? Because sometimes they go to deliver food and stuff like that, the door is open so they can...
Yes, the requirement is documentation of once a week. Weekly exterior door. Pero como en el entrenamiento les dije a todos los planteles, no dejen de checar, ¿verdad?
Like the security at my school, I don't see them like walking in school, you know, making sure.
No, it's a team. It's a team that they identify. So it could be different people, and they're called facility inspectors. That's what they're called. Okay. They take turns and make sure that let's say all 85. So ahí necesitan unos 2 o 3 para hacer todos los 85. Pero de hacerlo de diario es lo que se recomienda. Lo que se requiere es una vez a la semana. Y la razón que tenemos que hacer esto es porque Texas School Safety Center Region 1 is going to hire 1 inspector. Okay? Van a mandar una persona a cada distrito dentro de septiembre y diciembre para checar a ver si se pueden meter, a ver si pueden tener acceso al plantel.
Let's say I show up at the school and I open up on it open, whatever for that.
You report that to the principal immediately, ma'am. Immediately. Because sometimes we check that it's locked, but yo espero oír el little click, click, que es el little door lock, que está allí donde está el push bar. So, reportar, como dijimos, la comunicación. Si ustedes se dieron cuenta que se pudieron meter a un lugar, avísenos. Tenemos que ver por qué. Y les voy a decir, ¿verdad? Ya vamos en la 3ª semana de checar estas puertas. Y hoy mismo vi un ejemplo donde una persona dejó la puerta abierta y no atrancó. Y ahí le pusimos, ¿verdad? You know, the door was left propped open. It didn't. So that has to be reported. And of course, maintenance. Antes de que empezáramos esto, en la planta de facilities ya habían mandado su personal para tratar de componer todas estas puertas. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I have a question. This is like the first day that I dropped off my son. I spoke with the assistant principal, and she was like really sweet, right? And she explained the whole safety measures they're taking. And one thing that she did mention is that they have like sensors on the door, like if the door is open.
The runner
so
alerts.
that's like good too. I don't know if like all the schools have them or.
Elementary schools, yes.
Oh,
Mr. Mora is in charge of making sure that those runner alerts are working all the time. Okay? Today we had an incident on a runner alert, but again, we monitor that, and we're always looking to make sure that we address that. So thank you for bringing that up.
But the middle and high schools don't have that.
We don't have runner alerts, no.
Oh.
Ya están los grandes. Yes, sir.
Sorry, Mr. Perez, on those runner alerts and the magnetic doors, have we tested that in the event of a power outage? It's very rare. But Mr. Mora would.
They run a battery. So what we do is we make sure that the safety officer checks that the battery is current and it has a runner.
Perfect. One other question. We talk about lockdowns all the time. I've been in situations where we have a lockdown and somebody pulls a fire alarm. Maybe something to consider in a drill as well going forward in the future, because in a fire alarm, it's fair game. The doors open up.
Yes, sir. And it happened. Mr. Mora and I have discussed it, and we've already told the administration too, that when there's a fire alarm, the expectation is the teacher or the adult will look out. If it's a real fire alarm, then we go. But that's the process, because I know it happened in one of the schools, right? In the shooting. Thank you for bringing that up, sir. Ok, reunificación. Si llega a haber una crisis, van a recibir School Messenger, ¿verdad? La información. Pero cuando se determina de que vamos a sacar los niños de ese plantel y los vamos a llevar a Sames Arena, ya los voces, ya tenemos el número de voces, ya tenemos los voces de educación especial. Cuando ya se llame de que vamos a reunificar, vamos a llevar a los niños a Sames Arena, ¿ok? No, that is we already have an MOU, a memorandum of understanding, that if there is a crisis where our superintendent will call reunification, we have a plan of who's going to go and do what, the roles and responsibilities of each group, so that we can take our kiddos over to Sames Arena, okay? Now, you're thinking, well, how are we going to get them out safely? Now, there's also a step that we need to take to find out where can we move our kids safely to another location that's near the school so that we can pick up kids from there. And I've used the example of Santo Niño Elementary. I'm from Santo Niño. So it is right across San Vicente de Paul Church. So we're getting ready to speak to the priest to see if that can be our primary evacuation location, so that we can take our kids either to the church or to the back of the church, away from the campus, so that we can pick up kids from there and take them to Sames Arena. Okay? So that is what we have in place right now. We have a plan where Mr. Mora knows what to do, the superintendent knows what to do, the chief knows what to do, I know what to do in this reunification plan. We have groups going to Sames Arena, and of course we have support groups at the campus themselves as well. Okay, so that's the reunification plan. I hope it answered your question as to what's going to happen. You're going to get the official notice. And on that note, we have our own plan, but we follow the plan from the Texas School Safety Center. Este es el plan del Texas School Safety Center. Nosotros tenemos nuestro plan que ya revisó el Safety and Security Committee. Ahora en mayo ya revisó ese plan, ¿verdad? Ya tenemos como 2,000 tarjetitas de estas. Porque cuando lleguen a Sames Arena les van a dar una tarjetita. Ahí escriben el nombre del niño y toda la información, ¿verdad? Entonces vamos a asegurar, va a ser organizado, ¿verdad? Aunque no se mire así, pero no le vamos a soltar a su niño o su niña hasta que tenga esta carta firmada y todo. Y podemos confirmar de que es su hija y se la puede llevar. Usted tiene el poder de llevarse a esa niña. ¿Ok? Es un plan que seguimos, ¿verdad? Tenemos el plan ya listo. Todos los departamentos tienen las responsabilidades que van a hacer. ¿Ok? Por ejemplo, the parent liaisons under Ms. Campos, they're going to be taking the staff to help out at the Sames Arena. C&I is going to take their staff, van a llevar todo el personal para poder conectar los niños con los padres. ¿Okay? Y tenemos el departamento de tecnología que nos va a conectar todas las computadoras para poder verificar que usted es el padre de esta niña o niño y que se lo puede llevar. ¿Ok? Alright, that's reunification. ¿Alguna pregunta sobre eso? Sí vamos a tener juntas con Miss Campos, ¿verdad? No sé cómo lo va a hacer ella, pero nosotros estamos disponibles para hacer entrenamiento para todos los padres de familia en lo que estamos haciendo, ¿verdad? Entonces, este es el primero de los entrenamientos o la información, pero vamos a seguir constantemente para que todos ustedes sepan, ¿verdad?, cómo responder, ¿verdad? Aunque sí, como padres de familia vamos a responder que yo quiero ir a traer a mi hijo ahí, ¿verdad?, al plantel. Así vamos a responder. Pero tenemos que hacerlo de una manera que va a ser segura, ¿verdad?, por el bien de todos, ¿ok? Ahora voy a introducir a Mr. Mora, que va a hablar tocante Visitor Management. So, si usted no es empleado del LISD, usted es un visitante y tienen que seguir nuestras reglas. Se nos van a enojar, nos van a echar y todo eso, pero está bien, se resbala, ¿verdad? Nosotros tenemos un plan y nosotros tenemos que seguir ese plan por el bienestar de todos nuestros niños. Okay, Mr. Mora.
Good afternoon. My name is Victor Mora. I'm the Director of Safety and Emergency Management. Like you all have seen and heard, there's a lot of things that we as a team do on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis. Chief Hale talked about responding. When something bad happens, her team and everybody that was here will come together to respond. I'm on the side of prevention. Chief Hale and the police and I work very closely together. My job is to teach, educate, and to hopefully prevent. Es mejor prevenir que lamentar. Y esa es nuestra meta. Y como ven, hemos hablado de muchas piezas, muchísimas piezas. Y ojalá que se sientan un poquito mejor sabiendo de todo lo que hacemos para prevenir una crisis. Pero cuando no se puede prevenir una crisis, necesitamos estar preparados y listos para reaccionar. Y tenemos toda la comunidad ayudándonos en eso. Pero sí les pido, por favor, sin la ayuda de ustedes, without your help, without you communicating to the schools what you see, what you hear, we need your help. Because it takes all of us to make our community and our schools safe. Every single one. Safety is everybody's job. It's not just police, it's not just Mr. Perez, it's not all of our police officers, it's not the FBI, it's not the sheriff, it's not the county, but it's you and you and you and you and us working together. I'm going to be very brief because I know it's the last topic of the day, but I want to talk about one other piece that we work on. And that one other piece is our visitors. Why is what we call visitor management important to school safety? You all want to answer? Why is visitor management an important piece to school safety? We have, it's a line of defense. Acá?
To protect the students.
To protect the students from what?
From danger, being away from everything.
Visitor management is our district's process to make sure that we are always looking out for your children. And when we talk about visitor management, I want you all to know that at LISD, in our district, in a normal year, we see about 200,000 people come into our schools. All of you know Raptor, right? When you come into the school, you have to show your ID and you scan it, right? That's Raptor, Visitor Sex Offender Database. It checks against who's coming in, and is that person safe? Well, I want you to know that every school year, pre-COVID, and as we continue now to get back to normal, our schools, our 31 schools, will see about 200,000 visitors. So yeah, visitor management is very important for us to look at. We need to make sure of the people who are coming into our schools. And when we talk about the visitor, we talk about all the people. We talk about mom, dad, brother, sister, uncle, aunt, ex-student, ex-employee, taquito lady, taquito man, the florist guy. Anyone who does not work at a school is considered a visitor. I want you to know that we teach all of our staff who is a visitor. Because I don't want you to think that we're only looking for the strangers. We're not. We're looking at everybody. Again, who is a visitor? Mom, dad, brother, sister, novia, novio, hermano, hermana, tío, tía, abuelo, vecino, comadre, compadre. All of these people are visitors. And every visitor must follow the rules. And every visitor must be filtered. Every visitor must be checked. Every single time. And you hear so many stories, pero la señora tan linda, ¿para qué ya la conocemos? Because we're not going to take a chance. And what I talk to the team about is not one time, not once. Because how many of us in this room have been angry? How many of us in this room have ever gotten upset? How many of us in this room have ever, a lot of stuff, right? Well, on a normal day, we're going to go in and do what's right. But that one time that someone wants to do something to a child or to one of our teachers, no, because we are watching. But as we continue, guys, when you visit our schools, you need to be our eyes and ears too. If you see someone walking down the hall without the badge, the visitor tag that you all get, question it. Ma'am, can I help you? ¿Y tú quién eres? I'm a parent, and I take care of this school too. It's not just our teacher's job, it's not just our custodians, it's not just our police, but it's all of us. So if you ever see something suspicious in our schools from a visitor, you have a right to go call an officer. Hey officer, I just saw that lady walking over there in the back and she doesn't have an ID, she looks kind of strange. And they'll go see it. Ay, es la abuelita de Pepe. I don't care who it is. If they're not following the rules, if they don't have an ID and something suspicious, report it. We're talking about see something, say something. It's everybody's job. It's all of our jobs. And our job is to make sure that not one of our children, not one of our children is going to be hurt by a visitor, by a stranger. Nobody. So as Mr. Perez said, we need to make sure, guys, that as visitors, we're entering through the front door, we're registering at the front, we're following the rules. But are there people who don't want to come in through the front door? Are there people who don't want to stop at the front desk because they're in a hurry? Are there people that say, no, yo no tengo tiempo, yo tengo que ir a hablar con la maestra, yo no me voy a esperar? Yeah, there are. And that's a mom, a dad, a brother, a sister, an uncle, and aunt. So yeah, we all have to follow the processes. But we know and we understand that not everybody is going to do that. Not everybody is going to do what's right and necessary. But the message here, and I'm not going to go too much more into the visitor process, but the message here is that we're watching. The message here is that you as parents and you as visitors, when you visit our schools, you are part of our team. And without you, we're not going to be as safe without you. You are also our eyes and ears. And you also have an authority and a respect and a responsibility to help us, to make sure that our kids are safe. So with that said, I just wanted to share that we're watching. We see a lot of people come in our doors. We're on top of it. We want to make sure that our visitors do what they need to do. And I'll conclude with this. When you're out of school, please be watchful as well. If you see a door that's not closed all the way, something's wrong. Report it to the principal, report it to a police officer, because again, we are all part of this team. We can assure you from what you've heard today that there's a lot of work that we are trying to do and to accomplish to make sure that your children are safe. As a parent, our heart is in the same place. We do not want for a tragedy to happen at Lisd like it happened in the Webb. But the answer lies in all of us. We have a saying at our district, not under our watch. And I challenge you that you also keep that. Not under your watch, not under our watch as a community will Laredo ISD or even UISD or any school be affected because we did not do our part. We have a deal? We're all in this together. Thank you. Yes, sir.
I have a concern as to your visitor management. If I go to any campus, I know what is required is my ID. I go, submit it, go through the roster, clear. I go into the campus. What is there to say that after the campus and my staff, do I do something? I see metal detectors, not people. What is there to say that you mentioned that today is the day that I had it? You know, I'm already inside. We had this situation at Figueroa where students got stabbed inside. There was more than 30 seconds to a response, and this is a concern. Not only do that, but one of them also divorce cases, protective orders. You know, where the parent cannot see the children, but still they try to go to school and get them out. You know, a lot of times that's a concern that, oh, it's civil, we cannot get involved. But it is a possibility. I know Mr. Diaz has seen all the cases like that, domestic violence, over and over and over. And I see it in the courtroom, in family cases, over and over. So, what can we do to prevent that? What can we do to put those detectors to use? You know, because we see them. So the only protection that they have is the graphics. So I get the sticker, I put it on, and I can walk in. Am I correct? I'm not going to attendance. I'm not going to the consul's office. You know, and I've seen some districts where they have modified their system, where they put like a wall in between. You know, so you cannot go beyond that point for the safety of everyone. Maybe you can have an office where we can within that section to conduct your business in a secure location. But that is a concern that I've had. And you sé que muchos padres han mencionado de las puertas. And I'm glad you mentioned that because I've seen that. You know, what can we do to report it? So definitely I'm going to do that. Because it can happen. Pero esa es la mortificación que yo tengo como padre. Y yo lo he visto. No, los detectors ahí están pegados en la pared, desconectados. No, y a veces pasan, y no, chécale. Y otra vez, nos saca todo lo que traes. Porque nunca sabemos qué puede ocurrir. Y el propósito de esta noche es, claro, informarnos a todos y han dado mucha información, pero claro, es imposible para garantizar la seguridad. Pero son cuestiones así que cada nosotros tenemos para tomarnos en cuenta. Mira, vamos a modificarlo, no se va a poder solucionar para mañana, pero vamos a trabajar en eso. Y a lo mejor para que puedan hacer algo en eso. Pero vamos a modificación, son buenos casos de assault, divorces, protective orders, que no pueden mandar al niño para cuando escuela se dé cuenta, o la mamá o el papá traiga el decree, or the temporary restraining order, porque eso también pueden hacer ahorita, va a dar la orden ahorita, y yo también correr para la escuela para sacarlo.
Y pasa.
Y pasa. No, yo sé que a veces no es del trabajo necesariamente de uno, pero poder obtener esa información. Yo sé que tienen oficiales buenos, vamos a checar, déjame llamar para allá, o vamos a correr para la corte, o me lo puedes estar que me traen una copia X, pero en comunicación, digo, esta clave, eso es una mortificación muy grande. Yo sé que imagino que todos los padres también, porque no queremos que nuestros hijos pasen por algo así. Y ojalá que podamos llegar a una solución, y estoy dispuesto a hablar con ustedes para poder.
Sí, claro, todo eso es realidad, ¿verdad? Porque tenemos muchos escenarios que hemos visto y tratamos de ver qué pueda pasar, ¿verdad? Por eso tenemos unos protocolos, ¿verdad? Para que nos ayude a, por ejemplo, que se queden enfrente donde está la oficina, ¿verdad? Y los elementary campuses ahorita no tienen metal detectors, pero ya los ordenamos. ¿Okay? Todos los planteles que tienen metal detectors, okay, al recibir el metal detector, tuvieron que enseñarme el certificado de que están entrenados en utilizar el metal detector. Okay. Esos metal detectors trabajan por batería, okay. Así es que si no se miran conectados, no quiere decir que no están trabajando, okay, porque they work on lithium batteries.
So, si mañana en la mañana voy a la escuela, si va a Mero, por ejemplo, entro, va a estar el detector de metal trabajando.
Debe, porque se tienen que prender cada mañana, se bloquean en la noche para que estén cargados y luego estén listos en las mañanas.
Porque eso es lo que.
Sí, no, claro, como digo, en realidad.
No, y ahora, si los tienes ahí y paso por el detector de metal, por aquí de esta puerta, pero si puedo entrar.
Sí, pues no tenemos, por eso una entrada primaria.
Y eso es lo que también he visto como en varias escuelas, que yo puedo entrar con mi libro, paso con security, mi ID, que dónde va, la mano,
sí.
Concert,
sí.
Party, ¿sabes qué? El libro va a ese lado. Y nadie, ¿dónde vas? Y puedo entrar por atrás a un salón, que los estudiantes entran, que cada cambian clases. Puedo asegurar que posiblemente la puerta está abierta. ¿Por qué? Porque es donde pasamos los estudiantes todo el día. Toda esa es la cuestión de la seguridad.
Sí, y todo eso es monitorear, como dice usted, ¿verdad? Al pasar clases en secondary, en la high school, pues tiene que abrirse la puerta, ¿verdad? Pero tenemos que tener un plan donde se va a trancar. Y eso fue las pláticas que tuvimos la semana pasada con los secondary.
Las cámaras, los monitores. Tienes 4 o 5 monitores aquí. ¿Por qué no está vigilando? Nadie. Nadie está ahí. Section 105, 10-0. 10-0 es caución. ¿Ok? So 10-0.
I'm sorry, whenever you go into a school, it happened at Nixon recently, you are at the front office, you're leaving your ID, and then on the way that you are opening the door, that you think you're to go in, there's another parent behind you. And they jump or that they bridge that protocol and they go in the school without doing what you just said. They aprovechan que ya viste la puerta and they go in. So that's also us as parents, as like a civil education to not do that.
Right.
Maybe you're not happy, maybe, but you need to do.
Wait your turn.
What you have to do, wait for your turn instead of bridging that for the students and the staff.
Y son puntos muy buenos. Y lo otro es, yo soy security guard. Me dice, Ramírez, 44, y estoy cuidando the L300, al cigarro High School. Me voy a la comida, ¿quién me va a cuidar mi sección? Se va a quedar sola por el tiempo de mi comida. Ramírez, back in service. ¿Quién lo va a estar cuidando? Digo, porque los chamacos, si van a hacer algo, la piensan. Si no digo, voy a hacer algo, o van a ir a la comida a tal hora, necesitan el tiempo para hacer algo. Sé que hay personales, ¿sabes qué? I'm Officer 15, I'll cover Mr. Perez's guns. Or, ¿sabes qué? Whoever custodial staff is there, a teacher aide, a coach, go cover that section. Just like when we do the STAR testing, we have people outside in the hallway, make sure that it's clear. So maybe we can do this, because it could be that one security for the whole building. What if something happens? Right. What if there's a 10-10? By the time you get a response, it's going to take a while. It's going to take at least 30, 45 seconds. Things can happen. That's too long of a time. So we got to cover something. It's like when you go somewhere, Chief Hale, hey, you have Lieutenant Camarillo cover for you. We all do that. But it's something that we got to take into consideration and look, because we don't want to be with the mindset that nothing has happened. It will happen. Unfortunately, we gotta be ready for that. And I know you all be ready for situations like that. But if we can stop that, you see the presence, hey, you know what? I'm gonna go. Metal detectors, hey, está al lado porque está buscando en white. And those are deterrence things that people see and they don't go. And especially when you hear fights gonna happen before spring break, before the end of the year, or situations, you hear what's gonna happen. I see it, and sometimes I mean, hey, there's a fight, and then over here. I can get involved in separating. Right. And the security guys, please, after school, there's nothing to do. Right now, I had to stop a student from choking a girl. I had to. Why do I have to be doing that? I don't mind. No. But because I want my children to be secure, and I want that son or daughter to go back home. So, and then, we see it, I call it in, and, I sometimes get a response, sometimes get a response from PD, LPD that go in and interfere. Wonderful. But we gotta take that extra step. Please, we have to, because sooner or later, one of us here is going to be on a episode. It happens. Nadie estaba ahí. And it happens every single day. Every single day.
And absolutely,
campuses buildings are left unsecured. No security.
And that's why, again, yes, so we got to cover the whole building as best as we can with the personnel that we have. And that's why, yes, our principals are consistently trying to figure out, what the best plan is, in preparation for the week, in preparation for, before a break. So they're constantly, doing that, and they're constantly asking us, is this a good plan? Can we do this? Can we do that? I've already advised Chief Hale, can we, make this change, and can we have more presence and all that? So everything that you highlighted, sir, is a daily thing that we've got to, not only do we have a plan to respond, but we got to adjust that plan, because you never know what the scenarios are. And so, all that is important. Mr.
Valentin Reese,
yes,
going back, Mr. Ramirez said, a lot of times we talk only about guns, but do you know what's more dangerous than a gun, than an AR-15 or an assault rifle? Anybody?
A knife?
Thank you. A knife. Okay, and that is a child. Okay, a knife is 50 times more dangerous than an assault rifle. Okay, and the first week of school, a kid was caught with 2 knives. He can stab all day long, it's silent, and they bleed easy. Okay? So if you see one of your kids that has a lot of knives and infatuation, that's a red flag. Okay? So also look for those things. Okay? Now, I talked with Mr. Mora, with Mr. Cruz. Don't think that I'm against them, I'm with them. I'm also with the chief. Because I firmly believe if you stay silent, you are part of the problem. Si se quedan callados son parte del problema, no la solución. Okay? Y por eso estoy aquí. And the West Indian visitor, sir. There's a company that works in our schools. They don't have a sticker in the vehicle identifying them. They don't have road guard vests. They don't have a shirt. They're identifying a nameplate. They don't. And I see them y parece que vienen del barrio. Y son trabajadores, luchadores, pero no tienen nada. Okay, so that's an issue that, you know, y mi opinión personal, quizás lo hacen porque no quieren que sepan que son familiares de un board member. Okay, es mi opinión personal. Uno de ellos se llevó de encuentro a mis Ramírez, la esposa de Juan. No sabíamos ni qué compañía porque no tenían el nombre de la compañía. Se estaban escondiendo. They didn't want nobody to know. Okay? Now you mentioned people getting mad. We have ROTC kids like Tony over there that's mad because they took away his teacher. His ROTC teacher was fighting for the needs of him. We have 120 kids and they all got mad. Okay? Esas son cosas, el ambiente que cría el distrito por mantenerlos callados. Ellos nomás están peleando por las necesidades de ellos. A while ago we had a parent volunteer here. I was also a parent volunteer. Y porque yo peleo por las necesidades de ese grupo, me sacaron. Yo también, me cogí pegar piti y decir, no es lo loco. Pero gracias a Dios yo no soy así. Pero es el ambiente que está criando la escuela. Y, sir, si se quedan callados y no dicen nada, when you see these injustices happening in your school, con todo respeto, you're a part of the problem. ¿Ok? Y quiero que sepan, yo no me voy a quedar callado. Si yo miro justicias, no me debo quedar callado. Sean legal, ilegal, aquí todos tenemos derecho, period. Tienen una voz. You have the freedom of speech. No se queden callados. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Reese.
Hello, good evening. First of all, thank you for giving us the time of all this knowledgeable information. I did not know a lot. Thank you. I'm sure many of us learned about your programs and what you guys are doing, being proactive with the more valuable things, which is our children. Something I learned, from Walden, very close. First of all, I did go a couple of days after it happened, my wife and I. We went to go visit Barry's Bags over there, and it was a very, very sad environment. It was a very sad time, and it was close to home. But more than anything, something very important I took home was that at the end of the day, there is nobody that's going to save and protect you except yourself. At the end of the day, it's just you. Because when you see the video, months after it was released, and you see the video where in the hallways, there was AR-15s with the cops, there were shields, there was many different agencies present. Even the chief of the district was trying to negotiate, right, with the shooter after he shot so many rounds. Like, come on, sir, give up, we'll talk to you, whatever. So I'm taking home that the only person that's going to protect yourself is going to be yourself. So, and even worse, right? This happened, and 3 months prior to this event happening, the district went through a training, through an actual active shooter training. The skills were not there, fear kicked in, bad management kicked in, or whatever the hell it was, right? Unfortunately, that happened. So, with all these things being said and pointers being said, coming back to, at the end of the day, you're the only one that's going to protect yourself. Many cops were in the hallway. Have you guys given thought of actually allowing the staff, the faculty, for them to bring some sort of protection with them? I'm not saying a gun, I'm not saying a knife, but a pepper spray, bat, something, I don't know. Have you guys given thoughts to that idea? Because we know what happened. This guy comes with an AR-15, comes with 50 magazines. Each magazine is 30 rounds. You can do the math, that's a lot of bullets. And like I said, at the end of the day, you're the one with the skills or with the knowledge, and if you don't have them, well, you know, bad things can happen to you. That may happen. So, have you ever thought of giving the opportunity of people that feel comfortable? You know what? It's not mandatory. You don't have to. But hey, Mr., Mrs., teacher, if you feel comfortable of bringing and using pepper spray, a taser, something like that. Have you ever thought of that?
I know that I've heard it on 2 occasions, this being the 3rd occasion. And so the response that I can give you is, we can definitely take this idea to the Safety and Security Committee to see what their recommendation is, and then whatever recommendation is coming out, to take it to the Board of Trustees, who will do the final decision on it.
Yes.
But yeah, we have thought about that.
Yes, because for example, in some schools up north, north of Texas, I mean, I have seen signs, for example, you know what, you're not, if you're a bad, something like this, right, rephrasing, if you're a bad person, you're not welcome, because we will protect our students and our faculty at whatever extent, including guns, I believe, or something like that, a verbiage that came out. So something, like I mentioned, it's not for everyone. Not everybody is fit to handle a knife, a gun, a taser, or anything.
It's something to consider.
Well, it's something, you know, at the end of the day, you know, it's better to have something than nothing, you know?
Yes.
And coming to the exterior door audits, right?
Yes, sir.
Technology is here. From right now through my phone, I can see if my front door is locked, if it's open, if the alarm is on or off. Do you have a system where, you know, remote system where from your office, for example, you can see if all the Nixon doors, the outside doors are locked or not locked or a jam or something?
Yes, sir. And again, we did go to a conference in Region 1. I personally spoke to a company, you know, and I'm looking into that as far as cost, but you're absolutely right. If there could be some type of a remote system where we can engage those door locks and ensure that they are locked.
Thank you for your time.
Yes, ma'am. Hi. Good evening.
I'm a parent at the Wellington Elementary. It's called the Gem of the West, but I sarcastically call it the Forgotten of the West. Why? Because there's a lot of hazards around that school. Right now they're redoing the school, and you know, the teachers are working with that, and you know, there's limited space for the students to be, you know, getting learning and stuff and all that. But have you recently visited the Wellington Elementary?
Yes, I have been. I know Mr. Mora has as well.
Alright, have you noticed the dirt road? Have you noticed the cranes, the heavy machinery?
Yes, construction.
I'm not comfortable with my child being at a school that's getting built. I was comfortable when my child was at J.C. Line-Decker, because you know, they were splitting the students into different campuses. So I thought that was something for safety. You know, the kids are at risk. You don't know the walls are enough that's going to fall on top of the gymnasium or, you know, the cafeteria, things like that. Another thing about visitors, nobody really is looking to see who's picking up the kids after school. Before you used to see the teacher with the line of kids and you would come and say, Dad, Mom, of such and such, I'm going to sign her, you know, that the teacher gave me my child. But now it's turned into these enormous lines of traffic where the people just want to hand the child away. Here, take it. What child are you picking up? Come on, take her. And so I'm worried. I mean, I have a good family and, you know, I'm not worried about the safety of my child personally, but yes, of other child, or I don't know if my neighbor's a pedophile, who already knows my child's name, who already knows when my child goes to school. What if that person goes and picks up my child? There's no track of who picked up my child after school. So I know at the beginning of the year they do ask you to fill out these forms and, you know, write in who's going to pick up your child. But where are you checking to see if that's...
You're talking about dismissal time, right?
Yeah.
Because I know Dr. Peña has a system, so, you know, we can follow up and find out exactly.
She has this number system, which is pretty cool. You know, and I thought that was excellent because before it was just at the beginning, it was crazy. You know, but I've always had an issue with that with us leaving being forgotten either like that, where there's hazards for children. Our parking lots have never been up to par. You know, they have been crappy. It looks like you're going into a third world school, even before they were redoing. Also, I saw all the police here, the law enforcement companies, but I didn't see Border Patrol. And I always, well, I live on the west side of Kinder, you always hear gang violence spilling over, you hear the helicopters, you hear the gunshots. So I don't know what's the protocol or what's your relationship with Border Patrol in regards to Lomalina specifically, being that it's right there by the river. So I wanted to know about that too. And third, the transparency of all the things that you just talked about, the audits. Is there a place that I can go and see if my school has participated in those audits and if they have been on time and things of that sort?
So the audits themselves are protected, and so we cannot give out the information, and you will understand that. But I will confirm and verify that they were done. And like I said, I can show you where we met with each campus on those audits. And the sweeps are coming every week. Again, just this afternoon, I reminded them to make sure they do their audits by Tuesday. And then that they submit and they keep them in a workbook, because when the inspector comes from Region 1, they will be asking for an actual binder or workbook to check that they are being done. If they're not done and we're not compliant, the superintendent will get notice of that. I will have to report that report to the Safety and Security Committee. We will have to have a corrective action plan for each of the doors where they gain access, and so on and so forth. So we don't want to go there. That's what we're doing right now, and making sure, you know, and I review those reports, ma'am, and I give feedback almost immediately. Okay? I ask about each of the doors. You know, yesterday you reported that it was working, and now you're reporting it's not working. Tell me the difference. Well, they include the little description, and they include the work order and the date as to how they're responding to that. And like I said, division of our plant facilities division has been out there consistently. They've been, and yes, during the meetings that I had with the principals, they told me, oh, I finished this audit before, but then they came and they fixed everything. And so, again, those are coming from the administrators themselves. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, you wanted to know about Border Patrol? And so Border Patrol or any other agency, policing agency that has any kind of traffic around our schools should notify our police department or dispatch, so we can then ask for a lockdown or a lockout depending on what is going on around the schools. So we do have constant communication. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I'm a parent. I live in the country. I hope my son there. One thing going back to security, I've only seen one security guard for the whole school, and for me, that is not okay. I don't know how other schools are. My brother just graduated from Seattle High School this past summer. But at the beginning of the year, they had a staff right in front of his classroom. That is not okay too. Like you said, the security, metal detectors. I've gone and they're not working. I mean, I carry things with metal and everything. How come I don't hear it beep? And then going back to my son's school, only one security guard. And like, how is that safe? For me, I mean, it would be better. I know there's a shortage with security guards and all that stuff. I think y'all should look forward into creating a program where you can get the community, train them in security, and get them to the schools. That way the schools can have more security, better for our students, and like, being able to separate any fights, any discussions, anything that happen. I mean, honestly, when the shooting happened over there in Orlando, I cried. I really cried back, because I could not imagine that for
know, I see death a lot, like every single time I go. I see how people can get, but I work with adults. I don't work with kids. And honestly, like, I don't know how I would react to seeing a child dead, to knowing that a child is dead, that their face is disformed or whatever, you can't even recognize them. And security, for me, is very important. So I don't know if y'all can look into putting money aside into training people and getting them into schools, because one security guard is not good enough for me. I know in the morning today when I walked my son to school, there was a cop outside, and Clark, but he's not always there. No, not in the morning, I'm sorry. No. Today in the afternoon. In the morning there was nobody in the Clark crossing. And sometimes those cars are passing by really fast in Clark. So, I mean, that for me also, like crossing and everything, there should always be like a cop in any station or something. I know you all can police are coming and everything, and honestly I'm grateful for you all. But yes, like, security within the schools, like that's my main thing why I'm here. Yeah, I want more security in schools. I don't want one security guard, and like you said, what if that security guard goes to break? What happens then?
Chief, you want to?
Yes, ma'am, that's a concern that all parents have. Unfortunately, like you said, we have a shortage of security guards, but we try to do the best that we can with the personnel that we have. So if one is absent, like life happens. Somebody gets COVID, somebody's absent, somebody gets sick, so we just have to do what we can with what we have for now. But we are looking into grants and other things that can hopefully and possibly help us get more personnel.
Yes, hopefully I can see that sometime this year, because I don't want it to be like, oh, we're looking into it, but it happens 3 years later.
Right. Well, I mean, we're trying. All we can do is try, but we are constantly interviewing for more securities and more security. So we really are trying. And just what you want, I want as well. So we have the same thinking for that.
I'm sure the community, like, if there's a job shortage, like,
Yes.
more looking for jobs and everything, that's something that we do.
Sure.
Get them educated, make sure that our kids are safe.
Sure. So if you know of anybody that can apply for security, we have openings. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
And I just wanted to add, there's a lot of training that Chief has been providing, lots of training. So remember, I know that it was mentioned this earlier today, that sometimes we look at the physical, but we're also looking at the mental response.
Also, training teachers on how to stop a fire or something like you never know, like, how to stop an intruder. You can go to martial arts, whatever, but it's one person and 5 people don't know. And I want all teachers to know. And like, some people may not be physically trained to be able to do that, but some type of training can be done to keep safe.
Correct, yes. We will take that into consideration, absolutely. Yes, sir.
I'm a student. I know I'm not a parent. But I am a student, and this question just pops in my head. If we're ever at a point where there's a lockdown, and let's say I went to the restroom at that point, does lockdown just happen, and the person comes to me and tries to kill me, do I have the right to defend myself? I have been in fights before in middle school. I don't anymore, but I have been accused of attacking someone and then I get in trouble for it. So just gets in my head.
Right, just remember what we talked about as far as any threats. You know, in each campus we have a threat assessment team, so we've got to advise, we've got to communicate, you know, what's going on. So that is a starting, just like the example that Chief gave, where a parent advised police. So we've got to take that into account as well. And as soon as we know something's going on that's going to impact myself, then we've got to communicate with a trusted adult, you know, with somebody that will help any of our students so that we can respond appropriately. Thank you, sir. Good job.
Oh, you know how well, I don't think you remember, but earlier I said that we captured a crisis in case of like, well, I mean, this would be like an alternator or something severe weather, and it protects against that. I think that would be cool to look into because I mean, I think it can be doable, and then like, I mean, I think that would have helped, like that could help in a situation, like let's say like, you know what happened, like how the police officers peed out their balls and like, they weren't proactive, like they choked, and I'm not saying it's gonna happen with y'all, but I mean, it could happen, or, you know, miscommunication, something like that would be, I think that would be a good investment.
Absolutely, and I want everyone to know that we don't tire of attending webinars and looking at vendors and what they've got to offer. And of course, at the end of the day, there's always a price tag. But those are the things that we have certainly considered. Mr. Gomez, you heard him say that there is a system that he would like to have in our district. Very expensive, but there is a system, you know, that we could consider.
Maybe, you know how your schools like have fundraisers for like stuff and whatnot, maybe you can do something like that. And then, like, I'm gonna skip, but you know how like the young man that said like, oh, they could allow teachers to have some sort of like self-defense weapon? I mean, it's not a gun. I mean, mace would be good, or there's this company called Berna, and they have like a lot of self-defense stuff. Like they even have a gun that it's like, it's not like fatal, but it will like knock someone out. Like, something like that would be good.
Yes.
Because I think teachers, I mean, I think I would feel like a little safer. Because I mean, me as a teacher, I think I would fight back for my students, or try to.
Yes.
So I mean, the gun might win, but it's at least we're trying. You know, it's an attempt. You have something. You feel a little bit more secure. I mean, I would.
Yes. And as far as training teachers, again, you know, we can advise teachers that any instrument that is within their power. Again, the run, hide, fight video that I didn't show you, but any instrument that anyone can use as a last resort to be able to defend yourself. And so formal training, well, you know, that's something that is to be considered. But thank you for those ideas. Mr. Ruiz?
Yes, Valentin Ruiz, I wanted to touch base on what she said about security, or the lack of it. One thing that I've noticed throughout the years is that LISD sponsors Border Olympics. Border Olympics is separate from LISD, and the priority of LISD should be our children's safety first. So the problem here that happens is they lend out our security and custodial staff and the police officers to work the Border Olympics, but they don't pay them. They don't give them a check. They give them comp time. So when do they take comp time? When they're supposed to be in school, and that's not their fault, and it's also not her fault because she's just following orders. But it's one thing that needs to change. The police officer security should be first protecting our kids in our schools. And if they're not willing to pay them for that extra work, then don't send them. We're not a charity. Our taxes pagan taxas del Estado, federales y de LISD y locales. Y primero vienen nuestros niños. And another thing, if you look to my far back, Lieutenant over there, he's older than me and he's in better shape than me, okay? And I think there should be a standard for all officers, security guards. Now, I'm not picking on gorditos like me, it's a constant battle, okay? But how are you going to really take care of the kids, okay? There's very few people that can carry a big man, okay, or their brother. But we need to be in shape. Te están pagando la feria. You need to earn it and be in shape. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reese. Yes?
What he said, you know how like I said that like in a lot of the schools, well like for example my son's school, they only have a police officer half the day and then they have a security. And I understand like we can't discriminate about, you know, elderly or like sometimes they have like unos que parecen niños, right? Like, anyway, it's not about that. Maybe you guys can like teach us some self-defense techniques. Like for example, I had an instructor, his name is Anthony Winteroff, and he's a peace officer, and he gives like self-defense classes, like maybe something like that. And that would be also beneficial to, like, yeah.
Yes, I'm sure that's a program that could be taken into consideration by our district. And maybe Chief can take the lead on that, I don't know, all of us could look into that.
It's like, let's say, even if it's an elderly person or a young person, they at least maybe know what to do, like in a way, like where they can just, God forbid it doesn't happen, maybe like try to take the gun away from someone, or if there's a knife.
Confronting the threat. Confronting the threat.
Yeah, especially like in middle schools and high schools, like let's say somebody whips out a knife, like these security officers, like, no saben qué hacer, or, like, se hacen de papaya, it's really bad. They're not trained for that.
Well, I know they're trained, right?
Or we can maybe do like for them to
They do get it trained.
like, get a level 2, like, security, like for them to be armed, like to be able to carry.
Yeah, well, that's another level. That's another level.
Just saying, like.
No, thank you.
We are taxpayers, like, with your reason, I guess.
Absolutely.
But yeah,
Well,
like,
thank
why
you.
not at least, like, let's say, like, that man, Anthony Winter, and he worked for many years for the UISD police. Like, he gives self-defense classes. It would be good for the security officers.
And whatever trainings Chief Hale has.
Okay.
Because like I said, I know that there's been a lot of training during the summer.
Yes.
And then we got another training comes September 7th.
But that's only for the police officers.
It's for everyone, ma'am, and she's got the designated training for each group. Okay? All right, thank you, ma'am.
Would it be possible if you show, like, I guess, posted on Facebook or something, those specific trainings that you're doing, like an explanation on all trainings? I mean, that would be taken all about.
So I have a Facebook page, if you may want to follow it, Laredo ISD Police Department. And in that Facebook, we do put pictures of the trainings that our officers go through in our security. So. Sure, and that's what exactly it does. We give a little synopsis of the training they're taking. So that's the way we communicate that. Okay? Anybody else? Thank you.
Parents, thank you very much for being here today. It's been 3 long hours, and I admire you sitting through the whole presentation, and I thank you for it also. Because there's not a lot of people that you can see stuck around for the whole 3 hours. And the presentations were very good, and I thank Mr. Perez, Chief Hale, and Mr. Mora. And Mr. Mora is the one that provides training for my parent volunteers. So if you become a parent volunteer, before you go into our schools, you have to go to a visitor management training. Okay? Because he does provide those trainings for my parent volunteers. And we are recruiting, so if you're interested, you're more than welcome to get an application in your campus and fill it out and submit it to your parent liaison, so they can go ahead and submit it for clearance, okay? Thank you once again. Thank you very, very much.